Welcome to Wife Cheating Story. I hope you have an enjoyable and relaxing time listening. Let's get started.
Cheating wife tried to ruin me by setting up an affair. I made her pay high price. For 15 years, I thought I was married to the love of my life. Turns out she was a spy, a traitor, and the mastermind behind a plot to destroy me all while sleeping next to me every night. What began as a celebration of our anniversary spiraled into a twisted web of lies, affairs, political sabotage, and betrayal. This isn't just a story about infidelity, it's a story about how far someone will go to protect their secrets, and how far I had to go to survive them. Before we begin, let me know where you're tuning in from down in the comments. And if you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next tale. The crystal chandeliers of the Hay Adams Hotel cast golden light across 200 faces, all turned toward Reese Morrison as he raised his champagne flute. Madison stood beside him, her emerald dress catching the light like scales on a serpent, though no one would make that comparison for another 3 months. 15 years ago, Reese began, his voice carrying the confidence of a man who'd won cases in front of the Supreme Court, I made the smartest closing argument of my life. I convinced this brilliant, beautiful woman to marry me. Laughter rippled through the ballroom. Madison's fingers intertwined with his, her wedding ring catching the light. She squeezed his hand, and he felt that familiar surge of gratitude. Madison has been my anchor through every storm, Reese continued. When I was drowning in briefs at 3 in the morning, she was there with coffee. When I made partner, she celebrated with me. When I lost the Morrison case, no relation, she reminded me that one loss didn't define my career. Senator William Hayes nodded approvingly from the front row. Having one of D.C. quote, "S most influential politicians at their anniversary was Madison's doing. So tonight, I want to say what I should say every day. Madison Morrison, you are my heart, my conscience, my..." Madison's champagne flute slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Her eyes rolled back, and she crumpled like a marionette with cut strings. "Madison!" Reese caught her before she hit the ground. "Someone call an ambulance!" Dr. Marcus Chen pushed through the crowd. "I'm a doctor. Give her space." Reese cradled his wife's head while Dr. Chen checked her pulse. The party guests formed a circle around them. "Her pulse is rapid but strong," Dr. Chen said. "Has she been under stress?" "She's been working on a major campaign, 18-hour days." Madison's eyes fluttered open. "Reese? I'm here, baby. You fainted. I'm sorry. I ruined everything. Don't be ridiculous." The paramedics arrived, loading Madison onto a stretcher. Reese grabbed her purse and phone, following them. As they passed Senator Hayes, the older man gripped Reese's shoulder. "Take care of her, son. These campaign seasons are brutal." In the ambulance, Madison reached for Reese's hand. "I don't need the hospital. I'm just tired." "The doctor said your blood pressure spiked. No arguments." Her phone buzzed in his pocket. Without thinking, Reese glanced at the screen. A text message glowed. "The plan is ready. Keep playing your part." His blood chilled. The sender was listed as VD. Who's VD? The question escaped before he could stop it. Madison's eyes snapped to his. For a fraction of a second, something flickered across her face. Fear? Guilt? Then her expression smoothed. Victoria Daniels, new client. She closed her eyes. "Can we talk about work later?" At Georgetown Hospital, they ran tests. Everything came back normal. "Stress and exhaustion," the doctor concluded. "I told you I was fine," Madison said as they waited for discharge papers. "Better safe than sorry. You scared me." "I scared myself." She looked up at him with those hazel eyes. "I love you, Reese. You know that, right? No matter what happens, I love you." "Of course I know that." "Maybe we should get away for a while. Use those Santorini tickets." Colin burst through the door, still in his tuxedo. "Jesus, Reese, is she okay?" "I'm fine, Colin." Madison managed to smile. "Just a dramatic exit." After Colin left, they sat in silence. Reese thought about the text message. "Keep playing your part." What part? What plan? "Come to bed," Madison said softly. "Everything will look better in the morning." But as they drove home through empty D.C. streets, Reese couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted in his perfect world. like a crack in a foundation, invisible but spreading. That night, he lay awake listening to Madison breathe, the woman he'd loved for 15 years, the woman who'd just received a text about playing her part. Outside, the city slept. Inside, Reese Morrison stared at the ceiling and wondered if he'd ever really known his wife at all. The morning after the hospital visit, Reese woke to an empty bed. Through the bathroom door, he could hear Madison humming something she only did when anxiety crept under her skin. Downstairs in their Georgetown townhouse, Reese made coffee in the machine Madison had bought him for their 10th anniversary. Ethiopian blend, dark roast, the expensive stuff. Everything in their life was the expensive stuff now. "You should stay home today," he called when he heard her heels clicking down the stairs. Madison appeared in the doorway wearing a black Armani suit. "Can't. The Meridian presentation is this afternoon." "The presentation that almost killed you?" She kissed his cheek, leaving a trace of lipstick. "Drama queen. I fainted from low blood sugar." "The doctor said stress." "Doctors say that when they can't find anything wrong." She poured coffee into her travel mug. "Besides, when's the last time you took a sick day?" "When I had pneumonia. And I had to practically chain you to the bed." A strange expression crossed her face. "Anyway, I'll be home early. Promise." After she left, Reese stood in their kitchen feeling unmoored. He'd taken the day off, planning to spend it with Madison. Instead, he was alone with that nagging sensation. He noticed Madison's day planner on the counter. She'd gone digital years ago, but kept the leather-bound book for thinking on paper. The planner was open to yesterday. His anniversary speech was marked with a heart. But at 3 p.m., there was an entry that made him pause. VM Conference Room B. VM. Not VD like the text had said. Reese flipped back through pages. VM appeared repeatedly over the past 3 months, always in Conference Room B, the small one in the basement. No windows. His phone rang. Colin. "You coming in? The Johnson deposition got moved up." "Shit. What time?" 2. "Judge Kowalski's clerk just called." Reese closed the planner. "I'll be there." At the office, he buried himself in preparation. White-collar crime, embezzlement, usually he loved the puzzle. Today, the numbers swam before his eyes. "You okay?" Colin appeared at 1:30. "You look like hell." "Just tired. Madison's been working insane hours on this Meridian thing." "Meridian Corp? The pharmaceutical company?" "Yeah. Big PR contract." Reese hesitated. "Have you ever felt like someone you loved was keeping secrets?" Colin leaned back. "Every day of my marriage. Turned out I was right." "This is different." "Is it?" "Something's bothering you." "What?" Reese almost told him about the text. Almost. But speaking it aloud would make it real. The deposition went well. For 2 hours, Reese extracted truth from someone determined to hide it. Johnson had stolen $3 million from his company's pension fund, and Reese proved it with receipts and emails. "You're a machine," Colin said afterward. But the victory felt hollow. Reese had exposed Johnson's lies with precision. What would he find if he turned that same scrutiny on his own life? That evening, Reese got home first. He poured himself scotch and sat in his study. The walls were lined with photos, their wedding portrait center stage. He pulled out his laptop and typed, "Victoria Daniels Meridian Corp." Dozens of results. Victoria Daniels, Senior VP of Strategic Communications, Harvard MBA. The photos showed a sharp-faced woman in her 50s, not someone who'd text about playing your part. "Working from home?" Reese jumped. Madison stood in the doorway. "Just emails." He closed the laptop. "How was the presentation?" "Fine. Great. Jonathan Meridian wants to expand our contract." She moved to the liquor cabinet, pouring vodka over ice. "More money means more hours, more pressure." "More what?" She turned, looking like a stranger. Older, tired, scared. "Nothing. I'm being dramatic." She drained half her drink. "I'm going to shower." "Madison." He caught her arm. "You can tell me anything, whatever's going on." Her eyes filled with tears. "Can I? Even if it could destroy everything?" "What are you talking about?" She pulled away. "Nothing. Too many crisis scenarios at work." His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She's going to destroy you. Be ready. Reese stared at the message until the words blurred. Then he took a screenshot and deleted it. Upstairs, the shower ran. Madison always took long showers when stressed. He could go up there, slip in behind her like when they were young, wash her back, and whatever was wrong would dissolve. Instead, he sat with his scotch and his growing certainty that his perfect life was about to detonate. 3 days after the anniversary party, Madison's behavior shifted into something Reese could only describe as aggressively normal. She woke early to make breakfast scrambled eggs with chives, his favorite. She asked about his cases with laser focus. She initiated intimacy with an enthusiasm that felt rehearsed. "I have to go to Chicago tomorrow," she announced over dinner at their usual Thursday spot, a tiny Italian place in DuPont Circle. Last-minute crisis with the Meridian campaign. What kind of crisis? Some blogger got hold of preliminary trial data, thinks he's the next Woodward and Bernstein. She sipped her wine. "I need to meet with their Midwest team." "How long?" 2 days. 3 max. She reached across the table for his hand. "When I get back, let's take that vacation. Santorini sounds perfect." Her hand was warm in his, her wedding ring catching the candlelight. Reese wanted to believe her. "I'll book the tickets tonight," he said. She squeezed his fingers. "I love you." That night, Reese lay awake listening to Madison pack. Through slitted eyes, he saw her slip something from her jewelry box into the bag. Then she stood at the dresser for a long moment, staring at their wedding photo. "You awake?" she whispered. He controlled his breathing, feigning sleep. She crossed to the bed and kissed his forehead. "I'm sorry," she breathed against his skin. Reese waited 10 minutes before following. He found her in the kitchen, cell phone pressed to her ear. "Understand the timeline," she was saying. "But if we move too fast..." A pause. "No, he doesn't suspect anything." Reese's blood turned to ice water. He pressed himself against the wall. "The young one is perfect," Madison continued. "Exactly his type. Smart, ambitious, beautiful. He won't be able to resist playing mentor." A bitter laugh. "Trust me. I know my husband." Another pause. Then, "Friday night. I'll make sure he's home alone. She'll show up around 11, drunk and crying about her father. He'll let her in, he's too decent not to. After that..." She trailed off. "Just make sure the cameras are working." Reese backed away silently. The young one. Smart, ambitious, beautiful. Haley Morrison, the new associate Colin had hired 6 months ago. Fresh out of Georgetown law, with a tragic backstory about her father's gambling debts. Madison was setting him up. He made it back to bed before she came upstairs. She curled against his back. "Early flight," he murmured, playing groggy. 6:30. "Safe travels?" "Reese?" Her voice was small in the darkness. "Whatever happens, remember that I loved you. The real you." After Madison left for the airport, or wherever she was actually going, Reese called in sick to work. He started with the home security system. Madison didn't know he'd upgraded it last year. The new system showed someone had been accessing their cameras remotely. Next, he drove to Madison's firm, using his spare key. Conference room B was small, windowless, with heavy soundproofing. In the credenza, he found a file labeled Project Reese. His hands shook as he opened it. Photos of him everywhere. Detailed notes about his habits. Subject responds strongly to emotional manipulation. Subject's attraction pattern. Intelligent women who need saving. The file included photos of Haley in various revealing outfits. Notes in Madison's handwriting. "Hair down is more effective." The red dress for the crying scene. Reese photographed every page. Then he found something worse, a contract between Madison's firm and Vincent Drake, who was running for Senate against one of Reese's oldest clients. $5 million for opposition research and strategic narrative development. She was selling him out, setting him up for a scandal that would destroy his career and his client's political future. Reese replaced everything and left. In his car, he tried to process the magnitude of Madison's betrayal. 15 years of marriage, and it had all been what? A long con? A performance? His phone rang. "Colin. Where are you?" "Peterson's here." "Food poisoning? Can you handle it?" "Already did, but Haley's been asking about you. Wants to know if you'll be around tomorrow night." "The trap." already in motion. "Tell her I'll be home," Reese said carefully, working on briefs. He drove home and spent the afternoon installing his own cameras. Tiny things from a corporate espionage case. Madison would never spot them. Friday night, Haley would arrive, but both sets of cameras would be rolling, and Reese would be ready. Friday arrived crisp and clear. Reese went through his morning routine mechanically. Madison called during his commute. "How's Chicago?" he asked. "Windy." Her laugh sounded forced. "The blogger situation is worse than we thought. I might need to stay through the weekend. Whatever you need to do. Don't work too hard tonight." "I won't." "Reese? I mean it about Santorini." He hung up and immediately called Alexis Chen, the private investigator Colin had recommended during his divorce. "I need you to track someone's location tonight," Reese said. "My wife." "You want real-time updates?" "Every hour." At the office, Reese moved through meetings like a ghost. Colin cornered him after lunch. "Haley asked me to remind you she's coming by tonight. Around 11. Noted. "Reese, whatever's going on, you can talk to me." "It's complicated." Reese pulled up the photos on his phone, Madison's notes, the contract with Drake. "She's setting me up. Tonight, Haley's going to show up drunk. Madison's got cameras ready." Colin went pale. "Holy shit, this is conspiracy. We need to call the FBI." "With what? Until something happens, there's no crime." "So what's your plan?" "I'm going to give Madison exactly what she wants, and then destroy her with it." That evening, Reese went home and prepared the stage. He opened wine, scattered legal briefs across the coffee table, the picture of domesticity. At 8 p.m., Alexis texted, "Subject at Ritz-Carlton downtown, checked in under V. Drake." So Madison was in town, hiding with her co-conspirator. At 10:58, the doorbell rang. Haley stood there in a red dress, hair down in waves. She stumbled slightly method acting or actual alcohol. "Mr. Morrison Reese." "I'm sorry." Her words slurred. "I didn't know where else to go." "Are you drunk?" "Maybe, yes." She swayed. "My father called. He lost everything again. The house, the car, everything." Reese stepped aside. "Come in, I'll make coffee." She stumbled past him, smelling of vodka. Good vodka, the kind a junior associate couldn't afford. In the living room, Haley collapsed on the couch. "I'm so sorry. I shouldn't be here." "It's fine." Reese stayed standing. "Let me get you water." "No." She grabbed his hand, pulling him down beside her. "Please, I just need someone to talk to." Her performance was impressive. The tears looked real. "My father's going to kill himself," she sobbed. "He said he's worth more dead than alive. We can get him help." "You're so good." She looked up at him. So decent. Madison's lucky. And there it was, the segue. Instead, Reese stood abruptly. "I think you should go." "What?" She blinked off script. "You're drunk, emotional, and in my house at 11 p.m. in a dress meant to seduce." He pulled out his phone, showing her the photos from Madison's file. "Red dress for the crying scene. You've been well coached." Haley went white. "Oh God, she said you didn't know." "Madison says a lot of things. Now you have two choices. Tell me everything or leave and face whatever consequences Drake and my wife have planned. They have leverage. My father really does have gambling debts. They bought them. And they wanted you to seduce me on camera." She nodded miserably. "I'm supposed to get you to kiss me. Then Monday I file a harassment complaint." "How much did they pay you?" $50,000, plus clearing my father's debts." Reese made a decision. "Go to the bathroom and throw up, loudly. Then come back and pass out on my couch. I'll cover you with a blanket and go upstairs." "But won't Madison? Let me worry about Madison." While Haley performed her new role, Reese typed an email to Colin with video from his hidden cameras attached. Professional distance maintained throughout. When Haley returned, looking genuinely ill, he handed her a blanket. "Sleep it off. Monday, you resign citing family issues. I'll make sure you land somewhere safe." "Why would you help me?" "Because you're not the villain here. You're just another pawn." In his bedroom, Reese sat in the dark and waited. At 2 a.m., his phone buzzed. "Madison. Can't sleep. How's the brief?" He typed back, "Finished. Heading to bed. Miss you." Madison had made one crucial mistake. She'd assumed he was exactly who he appeared to be, the white knight who couldn't resist a damsel in distress. She'd forgotten that before he was any of those things, he was a lawyer, and a good lawyer never walks into a trap without setting a better one. Monday morning arrived wrapped in fog, the kind that made Washington, D.C. look like a city of ghosts. Reese sat at his kitchen table, watching Madison move through their morning routine with the precision of a Swiss watch. She hummed while making coffee, her silk robe catching the light from the bay window. "Sleep well?" she asked, not turning around. "Like the dead?" Funny choice of words. She set a cup in front of him, her fingers brushing his. "Haley Morrison submitted her resignation this morning. Colin just called me. Apparently she's moving back to Ohio. Family emergency." Reese sipped his coffee, tasting nothing but bitter calculation. "That's sudden." "Isn't it?" Madison sat across from him, her hazel eyes unreadable. "Especially after she spent Friday night at our house." The silence stretched between them like a tightrope. Reese set down his cup carefully. "How did you know that?" "Please, Reese. This is DC, everyone knows everything." She leaned back, studying him. "The question is, what really happened?" "She showed up drunk, upset about her father. I gave her coffee and called her a cab. That's all? What else would there be?" Madison stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the hardwood. "I don't know. You tell me. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like my husband spent the evening alone with a beautiful young woman while I was conveniently out of town." "You weren't in Chicago." The words escaped before he could stop them. Madison froze. "What?" "The Ritz-Carlton downtown. Checked in under V. Drake." Reese watched her face cycle through emotion, surprise, calculation, something that might have been fear. "Want to explain that?" She turned away, gripping the counter. "You had me followed?" "I had questions. Now I have more questions." "Questions?" She laughed, but it sounded like breaking glass. "Always the lawyer, aren't you? Can't just trust your wife." "My wife has been meeting with Vincent Drake, the man trying to destroy my biggest client. My wife has been lying about business trips. My wife set up cameras in our house without telling me." He stood, moving closer. "Tell me, Madison, which wife should I trust?" She spun to face him, tears streaming down her face. But her eyes were cold as winter. "You want the truth? Fine. Vincent Drake hired my firm for opposition research. It's what we do, Reese. We manage crises, we dig up dirt, we play the game. That's how this city works." "And setting me up with Haley, was that part of the game?" Madison's mask slipped for just a moment. "I don't know what you mean." "Don't you?" Reese pulled out his phone, showing her photos of her own notes. "Red dress for the crying scene. Make sure she mentions her father's gambling. You wrote this, Madison. Your handwriting." The color drained from her face. She backed away until she hit the refrigerator. "Where did you get those?" "Does it matter? You tried to destroy me. My career, my reputation, everything we built together. For what? Money? Drake's Senate campaign? You don't understand." "Then make me understand." His voice echoed in their perfect kitchen, bouncing off the sub-zero refrigerator and Viking range. All the trappings of success, hiding a marriage built on quicksand. Madison's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and her face went even paler. "I have to take this." "Of course you do." She fled to the living room, her voice a low murmur. Reese's own phone buzzed. Alexis Chen. "We need to meet," the investigator said without preamble. "Now, there's something you need to know about your wife." An hour later, Reese sat in a diner in Anacostia, far from the power corridors of downtown. Alexis slid into the booth across from him, her usually composed face troubled. "I've been doing this job for 15 years, she began. "Cheating spouses, corporate espionage, the works. But your wife?" She shook her head. "Reese, she's been playing everyone." "What do you mean?" Alexis pulled out a folder. "Madison hired me 3 months ago. Said she suspected you were having an affair. Wanted me to follow you, document everything." Reese's coffee turned to acid in his stomach. "She hired you?" "But here's the thing, she also hired 2 other investigators. We've been watching each other, watching you, creating this web of surveillance that makes no sense unless—" Alexis leaned forward. unless she wanted to create confusion. Multiple stories, multiple witnesses, multiple versions of the truth. Jesus. Reese flipped through the folder. Photos of him at lunch with clients, at the gym, leaving the office. His life cataloged and categorized. But why? That's what I wondered, so I did some digging on my client. Alexis pulled out another folder. Your wife isn't just running PR campaigns, Reese. She's selling information, client secrets, personal details, anything valuable. And Vincent Drake isn't her only buyer. The diner seemed to spin around him. Outside, Anacostia went about its Monday morning, oblivious to the implosion of his life. Who else? Foreign nationals, corporate competitors, anyone willing to pay. Alexis's voice softened. I'm sorry, Reese, but there's more. Of course there was. There was always more. Haley Morrison, the associate who resigned, she came to see me Saturday morning, scared out of her mind. Said Madison had approached her father, bought his gambling debts from some very dangerous people. Told Haley she had a choice: seduce you or watch her father die. Christ. Reese rubbed his face. She's just a kid. A kid who's now in witness protection, thanks to you sending her to Seattle. Alexis smiled grimly. That was smart, by the way, getting her out of town. What do I do now? You have two options. Go to the FBI with everything, or confront Madison and try to negotiate some kind of... Alexis's words cut off as the diner window exploded. Glass showered over them like deadly rain. Reese threw himself across the table, covering Alexis as a second shot punched through the booth where her head had been. Around them, the diner erupted in screams. Back door! Alexis hissed, already moving. They crawled through broken glass and spilled coffee, keeping low. Another shot sparked off the stainless steel counter. Someone was trying very hard to ensure this meeting never happened. They burst through the kitchen, past startled cooks, and into the alley behind the diner. Alexis's car was parked there no coincidence, Reese realized. She'd planned for escape routes. Get in! She gunned the engine before his door closed, tires screaming as they tore down the alley. Who the hell was that? Reese checked the side mirror, looking for pursuit. Someone who doesn't want us comparing notes. Alexis took a hard right, then left, then another right. Your wife plays for keeps, Reese. Madison wouldn't. He stopped. Would she? The woman who'd hired 3 private investigators, who'd tried to frame him for sexual harassment, who'd been selling secrets to foreign nationals? Maybe he didn't know what Madison would or wouldn't do. His phone rang. Madison. Don't answer that, Alexis warned. But he did. Madison? Oh, thank God. She was crying. Reese, where are you? Someone called. They said there was a shooting in Anacostia. They said you were there. Who called you? I don't know. Anonymous. Reese, please, just come home. We need to talk. Really talk. No more lies. He looked at Alexis, who shook her head. But something in Madison's voice, real fear, not the calculated emotion she'd been deploying lately. I'll be home in an hour, he said. Be careful, please. Whatever you think of me, just be careful. After he hung up, Alexis pulled into a parking garage. You're not seriously going back there. She's my wife. She's a Black Widow spider who just tried to have you killed. We don't know that was her. Even as he said it, Reese heard how weak it sounded. Look, I need answers. Real answers. And the only person who has them is Madison. Alexis sighed. Then at least take this. She handed him a small device. Panic button. Press it, and I'll have police at your house in 3 minutes. Reese pocketed the device. Thank you for everything. Don't thank me yet. We're not through this. When Reese got home, he found Madison in the living room, surrounded by boxes. She was pulling out photo albums, their wedding pictures scattered across the coffee table like crime scene evidence. What are you doing? She looked up, mascara streaking her cheeks. Trying to remember when it all went wrong. Look. She held up a photo from their honeymoon in Tuscany. We were so happy. So young and stupid and happy. Madison, I got pregnant 6 months after this was taken. The words hung in the air like smoke. Didn't tell you. Lost it at 11 weeks. You were in the middle of the Brennan trial, working 20-hour days. I didn't want to distract you. Reese sank onto the couch. Why didn't you ever? Because after that, I couldn't seem to get pregnant again. And you never noticed, never asked why we didn't have kids, never wondered if I wanted them. She set down the photo. You were building your perfect career, and I was the perfect wife to support it. Except perfect wives don't lose babies. Perfect wives don't get phone calls from doctors about scarred fallopian tubes. Madison, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Of course you didn't. You saw what you wanted to see. The same way you're seeing what you want to see now. She stood, pacing. Yes, I took money from Drake. Yes, I tried to set you up with Haley, but not for the reasons you think. Then why? Because someone has been blackmailing me for 2 years. She moved to the window, staring out at their manicured yard. They have photos, videos, things that would destroy us both. They wanted information about your clients, access to your files. I held them off as long as I could, but then they got impatient. Who's they? I don't know. That's the truth. Everything goes through encrypted messages, Bitcoin payments, dead drops. She turned to face him. They knew about the miscarriage, about the fertility treatments I never told you about the affair. Reese's blood chilled. What affair? Mine. She lifted her chin, defiant even in confession. 3 years ago, you were never home, I was lonely, and Jonathan Meridian was charming and available. Meridian? The CEO whose company you're representing? Whose company I was representing. It ended badly. His wife found out, threatened to destroy my firm. I managed to contain it, but someone got evidence. Photos from hotel security cameras. That's what they're holding over me. Reese stood, needing distance. His wife had cheated on him, had lost their baby and never told him, had been blackmailed into betraying him. The layers of deception made his head spin. So your solution was to frame me? My solution was to give them what they wanted you, compromised and controllable. Then we'd both be in the same boat. They couldn't threaten me without threatening you too. She laughed bitterly, mutually assured destruction. The DC way. That's insane. Is it? You think your career would survive those photos getting out? Prominent lawyer's wife in adultery scandal? You'd be a laughingstock. Every case you'd won would be questioned. Every client would wonder what else you'd missed while your wife was sleeping around. She was right, and they both knew it. In Washington, perception was reality, and the perception would destroy them both. His phone buzzed. A text from Paige. With Madison now, she's scaring me, talking about ending everything. Please come. Is Paige here? Reese asked. Madison frowned. No, she's in Baltimore. Why? Another text. This one from Colin. Where are you? Madison just left your office in tears, said she needed to find you urgently. Reese's blood turned to ice. If Madison was at his office and Paige was in Baltimore, then who was sending these texts? And more importantly, who was playing whom in this game of psychological warfare? Madison, he said carefully, I think we need to leave, right now. What? Why? The doorbell rang. They both froze, looking at each other. Madison's face had gone pale. You didn't invite anyone? She whispered. He shook his head. The doorbell rang again. Then came the sound of a key in the lock. Only 3 people have keys, Madison breathed. You, me, and... The door opened. Vincent Drake stood in their foyer like he owned it, which, Reese realized with sinking clarity, he probably thought he did. The would-be senator wore a charcoal suit that cost more than most people's cars, his silver hair perfectly styled despite the October drizzle outside. Madison, Reese. Drake's smile could have frosted windows. We need to talk. How did you get a key to our house? Reese moved to block Drake's path into the living room. Madison gave it to me. Didn't you, dear? Drake's eyes never left Madison's face. For our late-night strategy sessions. Madison stepped forward, placing herself between the 2 men. Vincent, this isn't the time. Oh, but it is. Drake brushed past them both, surveying their living room like a general inspecting a battlefield. His gaze lingered on the scattered photos. Having a trip down memory lane? How touching. Get out of my house, Reese said quietly. Your house? Drake picked up their wedding photo, studying it with mock interest. Funny thing about mortgages, Reese. Public records show some interesting co-signers on yours. Shell companies, mostly. The kind that trace back to people who expect return on their investments. Reese felt the ground shift beneath him. What are you talking about? He's lying, Madison said quickly. Too quickly. Drake laughed. Am I? Tell him about the refinancing, Madison. Tell him who really owns this beautiful Georgetown brownstone. Shut up, Vincent. Tell him, or I will. Drake set down the photo and settled into Reese's favorite armchair. 3 years ago, you needed money. The fertility treatments weren't covered by insurance, and you couldn't very well ask your husband without explaining why you needed them. So you came to me. That's not... I said no, of course. Campaign funds have to be carefully managed. But I knew people who invest in useful assets, people who understood that having leverage over a prominent D.C. lawyer's wife could be profitable. Reese looked at Madison, seeing a stranger. You mortgaged our house to criminals? They're not criminals, Madison said weakly. They're investors. International investors, Drake corrected. The kind who launder money through American real estate. The kind who expect favors in return for their generosity. He smiled at Reese. Every mortgage payment you've made for the last 3 years has been washing blood money. Congratulations. The room spun. Reese gripped the back of a chair, trying to process this new betrayal. The FBI. We'll go to the FBI. With what? Drake stood, smoothing his tie. Your wife's signature is on every document. She attended every meeting. As far as any investigation would show, she's the mastermind. You're either complicit or incompetent. Either way, your career is over. What do you want? Madison's voice was barely a whisper. What I've always wanted. Senator Hayes needs to drop out of the race. A scandal should do it something personal, devastating. Lucky for us, his daughter just entered rehab. Again, some photos, a leaked police report, maybe a suicide attempt. You're talking about destroying a young woman's life, Reese said. I'm talking about winning. Drake moved toward the door. You have 48 hours to deliver something I can use. Or the FBI gets an anonymous tip about money laundering with Madison's name all over it. He paused at the door. Oh, and that shooting in Anacostia this morning? Sloppy, Madison. If you're going to eliminate witnesses, hire better help. That wasn't me. Madison's composure finally cracked. Vincent, I swear I didn't. 48 hours. The door closed behind him with institutional finality. Madison collapsed onto the couch, shaking. Reese stood frozen, trying to reconcile the woman before him with the person he'd married 15 years ago. It was for us, she whispered. The treatments, the loans, all of it. I wanted to give you a child. By getting in bed with money launderers? I didn't know. Not at first. Vincent said they were legitimate investors. By the time I realized, she buried her face in her hands. It was too late. They owned us. Reese's phone rang. Alexis. You need to see the news, she said without preamble. Channel 4. He grabbed the remote, flipping to the local news. His own face filled the screen, alongside a photo of Haley Morrison. Alleged inappropriate relationship between prominent attorney Reese Morrison and a young associate at his firm. Sources say the woman filed a complaint before abruptly leaving town. Morrison's wife, Madison Morrison, could not be reached for comment. No. Madison grabbed the remote, turning up the volume. I didn't release this. Vincent wouldn't dare, not yet. Then who? Reese's phone was already ringing. Colin, the partners, clients, another knock at the door. This time, Reese looked through the peephole first. 2 men in identical dark suits holding up FBI badges. Mr. Morrison, Agent Sarah Mitchell. We need to ask you some questions about your relationship with Haley Morrison. Madison gripped his arm. Don't let them in. Not without a lawyer. I am a lawyer. Not for this. Reese, please. This is exactly what they want you, defensive, scrambling, making mistakes. Through the peephole, he watched Agent Mitchell check her watch. Patient, professional, predatory. Mr. Morrison, we can do this here or at our office. Your choice. Vincent set this up, Madison whispered urgently. He's forcing our hand. If you go with them, if this becomes official, then maybe it should. Reese looked at his wife, blackmailer, adulteress, victim, co-conspirator. Maybe it's time to stop playing games and tell the truth. The truth? Madison laughed bitterly. The truth is, we're both drowning. And the only life preserver is attached to strings that lead straight to hell. Another knock, harder this time. Mr. Morrison, I'm going to need an answer. Reese thought about Senator Hayes' daughter, barely 21, fighting addiction. Thought about Haley, forced to flee the city. Thought about 15 years of marriage built on shifting sand. Give me a minute, he called through the door. Then, to Madison, we're going to fix this. How? By doing what we do best. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through contacts. You manage crises. I prosecute criminals. Time to remind Vincent Drake why that's a dangerous combination to threaten. Madison watched him with something that might have been hope. What are you thinking? I'm thinking Vincent made a mistake coming here, showing his hand, admitting to blackmail and conspiracy. Reese held up his phone, showing the recording app that had been running since Drake walked in. Every word, every threat, every admission. He'll destroy us if we use that. He'll destroy us anyway, but maybe we take him down with us. Reese opened the door to face the FBI agents. Agent Mitchell? I believe my wife and I have some information about Vincent Drake that you'll find very interesting. Mitchell's eyes sharpened. Regarding? Money laundering, blackmail, and a conspiracy that goes all the way to Moscow. He stepped aside. Please, come in. Can I get you some coffee? This is going to take a while. As the agents entered, Madison caught his hand. Together? For better or worse, he said. That's what we promised. Even now, after everything? Especially now. He squeezed her hand. We're both sinners, Madison. Might as well burn together. The FBI agents settled in their living room, recorders out, ready to document the complete unraveling of their perfect Washington life. Outside, the October rain intensified, washing the city clean, while inside, the confessions began. Drake had given them 48 hours. They'd give the FBI everything in 2. Sometimes, Reese thought, the only way to win a rigged game was to flip the board entirely. Tuesday morning broke gray and bitter over Washington, the kind of day that made the monuments look like tombstones. Reese sat in the FBI field office, his third cup of coffee growing cold as Agent Mitchell played the recording of Vincent Drake for the 6th time. Money laundering, blackmail, international investors. Mitchell leaned back, her shrewd eyes studying Reese and Madison like specimens under glass. This is quite a story, Mr. Morrison. It's not a story, it's the truth. The truth. Mitchell's partner, Agent David Park, flipped through a thick file. Like the truth about your relationship with Haley Morrison? No relation, I'm told, despite the shared surname. Madison shifted beside him. They'd been here for 18 hours, telling and retelling their story. The fertility treatments, the affair with Meridian, the blackmail, the attempted frame job. Each confession peeling back another layer of their marriage like an onion, leaving them both in tears. We've been through this, Reese said. Haley was coerced. Madison has the documentation. Had. Madison's voice was hoarse. When I went to retrieve the files this morning, they were gone. My office had been sanitized. Every document, every hard drive, even the backup servers wiped clean. Convenient, Park muttered. Vincent knew we'd turn, Madison continued. He's had 36 hours to destroy evidence. Mitchell's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, her expression darkening. Well, Mr. Drake has been busy. Senator Hayes just announced he's withdrawing from the race. Personal family emergency. His daughter? Reese felt sick. Attempted suicide. Apparently someone leaked her rehab records to the press last night. The story broke an hour ago. Mitchell fixed them with a cold stare. The timing is interesting, don't you think? We've been here with you, Madison protested. How could we? You couldn't, but your associates could. This Alexis Chen, for instance, the private investigator who conveniently disappeared after the shooting. Alexis wouldn't. Reese stopped. Would she? In this city of shadows and double games, anyone could be playing any angle. Another agent entered, whispering urgently in Mitchell's ear. Her face went rigid. It seems we have a development, she said. Vincent Drake is dead. The words hit like a physical blow. Madison gripped Reese's hand hard enough to hurt. What? How? Car accident. 30 minutes ago. His vehicle went off the Roosevelt Bridge. Mitchell watched their reactions carefully. Preliminary investigation suggests brake failure. That's impossible, Madison breathed. Vincent was paranoid about security. His cars were checked daily. Interesting that you'd know that. Park made a note. Where were you 30 minutes ago? Here, with you. Reese slammed his hand on the table. You can't seriously think. I think, Mitchell interrupted, that everyone connected to this case is either disappearing or dying. Haley Morrison vanished from Seattle 2 days ago. Alexis Chen hasn't been seen since the shooting. Now Drake is dead. You two are starting to look less like witnesses and more like the last players standing. The door opened again. This time it was the deputy director himself, William Thornton. His presence meant this had escalated far beyond a simple corruption case. Agent Mitchell, a word. They stepped outside, leaving Reese and Madison under Park's watchful eye. Through the glass door, Reese could see an animated discussion, Mitchell gesturing emphatically while Thornton remained stone-faced. This is bad, Madison whispered. They think we orchestrated all of this. Did we? Reese turned to his wife. Tell me the truth, Madison. Is this part of some deeper game? Am I still being played? Her eyes filled with tears. How can you ask that? Because I don't know what's real anymore. Our marriage, your affairs, the baby you lost. That was real. Her voice cracked. The baby was real. Losing her was real. Everything I did after that, every terrible choice, it all started with trying to fill that hole. Her? I knew. Somehow I knew it was a girl. Madison wiped her eyes. I was going to name her Emma, after your mother. Before Reese could respond, Mitchell returned, her face grim. You're free to go. What? Park looked as surprised as they felt. Orders from above. Mr. and Mrs. Morrison are no longer suspects. She handed Reese a card. We'll be in touch if we need anything else. That's it? Madison stood shakily. What about Drake? The money laundering? Is now part of a federal investigation that you are not privy to. Thornton's voice brooked no argument. I suggest you both find a good lawyer. The media is going to have a field day with this. Outside the federal building, the October drizzle had turned to sleet. Reese and Madison stood on the sidewalk, suddenly adrift. No car they'd been brought in by the FBI. No phones confiscated as evidence. Just two people who'd destroyed their lives trying to save them. What now? Madison asked. A black town car pulled up. The window rolled down, revealing Colin's worried face. Get in, both of you. They climbed in, grateful for the warmth and familiar presence. Colin looked haggard, his usually perfect suit wrinkled. The firm? Reese asked. In chaos. Half the partners want you fired. The other half want to circle the wagons. Colin poured himself whiskey from the car's bar. But that's not the biggest problem. What could be worse? Colin handed Reese a newspaper. The headline screamed, Prominent lawyer's wife exposed as Russian asset. What the hell? Madison grabbed the paper. This is insane. I've never read the byline, Colin said quietly. Reese looked. The article was written by Lisa Chang, investigative reporter. But the source cited throughout was A. Chen, private investigator. Alexis, Madison breathed. She played us all. It gets worse. Colin pulled out a tablet showing security footage. This is from the Ritz-Carlton, the night you were supposedly meeting with Drake. The footage showed Madison entering a room. But the man who followed her wasn't Drake. He was younger, darker, with the kind of face that belonged in spy movies. Who is that? Reese asked. Madison had gone pale. Gregory Volkov, cultural attaché at the Russian embassy. You met with a Russian spy? Reese felt the last foundations of trust crumbling. After everything, you're still lying? I met with him to get evidence against Drake. He had recordings, documents. She stopped. Oh God, that's how this looks, isn't it? Like I'm a Russian asset, like I've been playing everyone. Haven't you? The question came out raw, bleeding. Madison looked at him, and for the first time in months, Reese saw the woman he'd married. Vulnerable, terrified, human. I don't know anymore, she admitted. I've told so many lies, played so many angles, I can't remember where Madison the person ends and Madison the player begins. The car had stopped. Reese looked out to see they were at National Airport. Colin? His best friend handed them 2 envelopes. Tickets to Grand Cayman, fake passports, 20,000 in cash. It's not much, but it'll get you started. You want us to run? I want you to live. Colin gripped Reese's shoulder. Whatever's really happening here, you're being set up as the fall guys. Dead lawyer, missing associates, Russian connection, someone needs villains for this story, and right now, that's you. Reese looked at Madison, then at the airport terminal. Running meant admitting guilt. Staying meant fighting a system that had already decided their fate. Together? Madison asked, echoing their promise from yesterday. For better or worse, Reese confirmed. They got out of the car, 2 fugitives walking into an uncertain future. Behind them, Washington, D.C. continued its eternal game of power and betrayal. Ahead lay only questions and the slim hope of answers. The fatal gambit had been played. Now they had to live with the consequences or die trying to escape them. The Grand Cayman Airport was a world away from Washington's marble monuments and power corridors. Reese and Madison sat in a beachside cafe, their fake passports identifying them as Thomas and Sarah Brennan, tucked safely in a hotel safe. 3 days of running had left them exhausted but alive. "We can't hide forever," Madison said, stirring her coffee absently. The tropical breeze played with her hair, now dyed black and cut short. "They'll find us. Then we need leverage." Reese had shed his lawyer's uniform for linen pants and a weathered shirt. He looked like any other tourist, except for the constant vigilance in his eyes. "Something to trade for our safety." Madison's phone, a burner Colin had provided, buzzed. She frowned at the screen. Unknown number. Don't answer it. But she did anyway, putting it on speaker. A familiar voice filled the space between them. "Hello, Madison. Reese." Haley Morrison's voice was different now, harder, more assured. "We need to talk." "Haley?" Reese grabbed the phone. "Where are you? The FBI said you disappeared." "The FBI says a lot of things, most of them lies." A pause. "I'm in Miami, and I have information that could save your lives, but I need something in return." Madison and Reese exchanged glances. Trust was a luxury they couldn't afford, but options were running thin. "What kind of information?" Madison asked. "The kind that proves you're both pawns in a much bigger game. Drake's death wasn't an accident. Neither was that shooting in Anacostia." Haley's voice dropped. "I know who's really behind this. All of it." "And what do you want?" "Protection. Real protection, not the FBI's version. They burned me the second I outlived my usefulness." Bitterness crept into her tone. "Just like they're planning to burn you." Reese took the phone. "How do we know this isn't another setup?" "You don't. But ask yourself this: if I wanted you caught, would I be calling? They have your location. They've had it since you landed. The only reason you're not in custody is because someone higher up wants you free. For now." The cafe suddenly felt exposed. Reese scanned the beach, the tourists, looking for surveillance that could be anywhere or nowhere. Paranoia was its own prison. "Where do we meet?" he asked finally. "There's a marina in Georgetown. Slip 47. Tonight at midnight. Come alone." "Both of us?" "Just you, Reese. Madison stays hidden. She's the prize they really want." The line went dead. Madison was already shaking her head. "It's a trap. Has to be." "Maybe, but she's right about one thing: we're sitting ducks here." Reese stood, tossing money on the table. "We need to move regardless." They walked back to their hotel, a modest place where cash still bought anonymity. In their room, Madison pulled out a laptop, another gift from Colin's escape package. "I've been thinking," she said, fingers flying over keys, "about Alexis. The timeline doesn't add up." "What do you mean?" "That newspaper article citing her as a source? It was filed 2 hours after Drake's death. But the research, the documentation that would take days to compile. Unless she had it ready beforehand." Reese felt the pieces clicking. She knew Drake was going to die. Or she arranged it. Madison turned the laptop toward him. "Look at this. Alexis Chen doesn't exist before 5 years ago. No birth certificate, no school records, nothing. She's a ghost who materialized in D.C. right around the time Timothy died." The connection hit them simultaneously. Madison's face paled. "Oh, God, what if Timothy's death wasn't about me? What if I was just collateral damage in something bigger? Before Reese could respond, the hotel room door exploded inward. Men in tactical gear flooded in, weapons drawn. Not FBI, their equipment was too sophisticated, their movements too precise. Mr. Morrison? Mrs. Morrison? The lead operative's accent was distinctly Russian. You will come with us. Quietly, if you prefer to remain breathing. Madison moved closer to Reese. Who are you? Friends of a friend. Someone who has been watching over you longer than you know. The operative smiled coldly. He is very eager to meet the woman who killed his son. Son? Madison's voice was barely a whisper. Timothy Madison, or as he was known in Moscow, Timofey Volkov. The name landed like a bomb. Madison's first husband had been Russian, an agent, and she'd killed him. I didn't know, Madison breathed. He never. Save your explanations for his father. Dmitry Volkov has waited 5 years for this moment. Reese stepped forward. If you want her, you'll have to... The operative's weapon swung toward him. Mr. Morrison, you are not the prize here. You are merely packaging, easily disposed of. No. Madison moved between them. I'll come. But he stays here. Safe. Madison. This is my mess, Reese. My past catching up. She turned to him, tears streaming. That baby I lost? It was Timothy's. And when he found out about my affairs, about the money I was skimming from the PR firm, he was going to expose me, not to divorce me, to recruit me, for Moscow. The truth hung in the air like poison gas. Every revelation rewrote their history, turned love into lies. So you killed him, Reese said flatly. I defended myself. He attacked me when I refused to become an asset. The drowning. She shuddered. That was after, to make sure. Touching, the operative interrupted. But we have a schedule. The boat leaves in 20 minutes. What boat? Reese demanded. The one taking us to meet Dmitry. He's been waiting on his yacht, just outside territorial waters. The operative gestured with his weapon. Move. As they were herded out, Reese's mind raced. Midnight at the marina. Haley would arrive to find them gone. Or would she? In this game of shadows and lies, everyone seemed to know everyone else's moves in advance. The Grand Cayman night was velvet soft, mocking their situation with its beauty. As they approached the black SUVs waiting outside, Madison grabbed Reese's hand one last time. I'm sorry, she whispered. For all of it, the lies, the betrayal, trying to frame you. I thought I was protecting us, but I was just protecting myself. I know, Reese said. And he did. Finally, he understood the woman he'd married, not a master manipulator, but a survivor, making terrible choices to escape terrible situations. Each lie had built on the last until she was trapped in a web of her own making. The Russians separated them into different vehicles. As Reese watched Madison disappear into the night, he wondered if he'd ever see her again, or if Dmitry Volkov's 5-year quest for vengeance would end with blood in international waters. The convoy pulled away, heading for the marina. Behind them, the hotel room stood empty except for the laptop, still displaying Alexis Chen's fabricated history. On the screen, a new message blinked. The real game begins now. AC. The yacht Anastasia rose from the Caribbean like a floating fortress, its lights cutting through the darkness. Reese stood on the smaller boat's deck, salt spray stinging his face as they approached. Madison had been taken aboard an hour ago. The Russians hadn't let him see her since. Impressive, no? The operative who'd introduced himself as Victor gestured at the yacht. Dmitry bought it from a Saudi prince. Perfect for international waters business. Kidnapping, you mean? Victor shrugged. Perspective. You see kidnapping. Dmitry sees justice delayed. They boarded via a gleaming ladder. The yacht's interior was all mahogany and crystal. Old-world elegance floating on modern technology. Victor led Reese through corridors that belonged in a luxury hotel, not a vessel. Your wife is with Dmitry in the study, Victor said, stopping at an ornate door. You will wait here. Listen, but do not interrupt. Your life depends on this. He opened the door to reveal a sitting room with a two-way mirror taking up one wall. Through it, Reese could see Madison in what looked like a library, facing an older man who could only be Dmitry Volkov. The resemblance to Timothy was striking, same sharp features, same cold blue eyes. But where Timothy had been young and passionate, Dmitri was carved from decades of patient hatred. "You look well for a dead woman," Dmitri said in accented English. "Timothy always said you were a survivor." Madison sat straight-backed, her newly dark hair making her look younger, more vulnerable. "I didn't know who he really was." "No? You didn't wonder why a Russian national was so interested in your little PR firm? Why he had such generous friends willing to invest?" Dmitri poured himself vodka from a crystal decanter. "You knew enough to steal from those friends, to skim from the operations Timothy was running through your company. I thought it was money laundering, garden-variety corruption. I didn't know about the intelligence work lies." The word cracked like a whip. "Timothy filed reports. You discovered his real work 3 months before his death. You had a choice: join us or expose us. Instead, you chose option 3. He tried to kill me first. After you threatened to go to the FBI. Self-defense, you Americans call it. We call it murder." Through the mirror, Reese watched his wife navigate the minefield of her past. Every word revealed another layer of deception, another secret she'd carried through their marriage. "What do you want?" Madison asked, finally. "If you wanted me dead, I'd be dead. So what's the game?" Dmitri smiled, and it was Timothy's smile aged by grief and rage. "The game, as you call it, is bigger than your petty betrayals. Drake was eliminated because he was becoming unreliable, too ambitious. But his network remains. Senator Hayes still pulls strings. The operations continue." "I don't understand." "Your friend Alexis Chen, or should I say, Alexandra Chenkov, my daughter." The revelation hit Madison visibly. She sagged in her chair. "Timothy's sister?" "Half-sister. Different mothers, same father. She came to America to investigate her brother's death. Imagine her surprise to find you remarried, thriving, living in the house bought with money stolen from our operations. So this whole thing, Drake, the FBI, framing Reese, was about drawing you out, making you run, bringing you here, where American law cannot protect you." Dmitri leaned forward. "But Alexandra grew, fond of your husband. He reminds her of Timothy, idealistic, naive, believing in justice. She doesn't want him harmed. But you do. I want many things. Timothy's life back, the years of grief erased, the grandchild you murdered with him." His voice never rose, which made it more terrifying. "Since I cannot have these things, I will settle for balance." Through the mirror, Reese saw Madison's hand move to her stomach, an unconscious gesture of protection. Dmitri noticed too. "Ah," he said softly, not drinking the champagne. "The careful way you sit. How far along?" "I'm not. Please, I have 3 daughters. I know the signs." He sat back. "Reese's child, I assume? Not another of your diversions?" Madison's silence was answer enough. "Interesting. Timothy's child dies with him, but you give his replacement a baby. Poetry of a sort." Dmitri stood, moving to the window. "Here is what will happen. You will return to Washington. You will confess to Timothy's murder claims, self-defense, battered wife, whatever story saves you from execution. You will implicate Senator Hayes in the intelligence operations. You will burn the entire network to the ground. They'll kill me the moment I surface. Perhaps. Or perhaps Alexandra and I will protect you. We have resources, influence. The FSB is not without reach, even in America. And Reese? Goes free. Cleared of all charges, his reputation restored. He rebuilds his life, finds a woman who deserves him, forgets you exist." Dmitri turned from the window. "Or you refuse, and I drop you both in the Caribbean tonight. Your choice." "That's not a choice. It's more than you gave Timothy." In the observation room, Reese felt Victor's hand on his shoulder. "Dmitri will ask your opinion soon. Choose carefully. He loved his son, but he is not unreasonable. Show him respect, and you might both survive. And if Madison refuses, then you widow becomes a widow. Balance, as Dmitri says." The door opened. Another Russian entered, whispering urgently in Victor's ear. The operative's face darkened. "What?" Reese demanded. "Company, U.S. Coast Guard, approaching fast." Victor pulled out a satellite phone. "Either your FBI found us, or—" An explosion rocked the yacht. Alarms screamed. Through the mirror, Reese saw Dmitri pulling Madison to the floor as the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. Victor was already moving, weapon drawn. "Stay here," he ordered, then vanished into the corridor. Another explosion, closer. The yacht listed slightly. Through the chaos, Reese heard gunfire, automatic weapons, professional bursts. The mirror shattered as something heavy hit it from the other side. Dmitri appeared in the opening, dragging Madison. "Your FBI plays rough," he said to Reese. "But this is not FBI tactics. This is..." A figure in tactical gear appeared behind him. Female, face obscured by night vision goggles. She raised a pistol. "Hello, Papa," Alexis Chen said in perfect Russian. Then, in English, "Sorry about the deception, Reese, but some family reunions require privacy." She shot Dmitri twice. Non-lethal wounds shoulder and leg, but enough to drop him. Madison scrambled away, finding Reese in the chaos. "We need to go," Alexis said, pulling off her goggles. Her resemblance to Timothy was clear now, same sharp features softened by her mother's Asian heritage. "My team will hold them off, but Coast Guard is 5 minutes out." "Your team?" Reese pulled Madison to her feet. "Did you think I was working alone? Come on. There's a boat waiting." They followed her through the burning yacht, stepping over unconscious or dead Russians. The main deck was a war zone, Alexis's mercenaries fighting a retreating action against Dmitri's security. "Why?" Madison gasped as they ran. "Why save us?" "Because you were right about one thing," Alexis replied, leading them to a speedboat. "Timothy was going to recruit you for Moscow. I found his reports. He loved you in his way, but love and duty." She shrugged. "He would have turned you into a spy or killed you trying." They tumbled into the speedboat. The engine roared to life, and they shot away from the burning yacht. Behind them, searchlights pierced the night as Coast Guard vessels closed in. "So you've been, what, avenging him? Protecting us?" Reese had to shout over the engine. "Both. Neither." Alexis guided them expertly through the dark waters. "I came for answers. I stayed because the network Timothy helped build was evil. Drake, Hayes, the Russian connections, it all needed to burn." "And us?" Madison pressed against Reese, shivering despite the warm night. "You get one chance. Disappear. Really disappear this time. New identities I've prepared, clean money, a life somewhere quiet." Alexis glanced back. "Or stay and face whatever's left of the mess." "Your choice." "What about Dmitri?" "My father will survive. Prison, probably. He's too valuable for anyone to kill." Her voice softened. "He'll hate me for this. But Timothy wouldn't have wanted more blood. He loved too easily, trusted too much. Like someone else I know." She looked at Reese as she said it. In the darkness, with the Coast Guard lights fading behind them, he saw Timothy's ghost in her features. The idealist who'd married Madison, trying to balance love and duty until both destroyed him. "Where are we going?" Madison asked. "First, a doctor. That baby needs checking after tonight's excitement." Alexis smiled grimly. "Then, wherever you want. The world's big enough to lose 2 more ghosts." The speedboat cut through the Caribbean night, carrying them away from burning bridges and toward uncertain futures. Behind them, the yacht Anastasia listed further, a funeral pyre for old sins and older grudges. Chess pieces in the dark, Reese thought. All of them moved by invisible hands, playing games within games. But sometimes, the pawns got to choose their own squares. Sometimes, they even got to leave the board entirely. The safe house in Havana was a relic from the Cold War, tucked between a pharmacy and a flower shop on a street where tourists never wandered. Alexis had brought them here after the doctor, a woman who asked no questions, confirmed the baby was fine despite the night's chaos. Cuba? Reese stood at the window watching old cars rumble past. "Isn't this a bit on the nose?" "Best place to hide from American intelligence," Alexis replied, checking her phone. "No extradition, limited FBI cooperation. Plus, I have friends here." Madison sat on the faded couch, hands protectively over her stomach. She hadn't spoken since they'd left the doctor's office. The weight of everything, Timothy's true identity, Dmitri's revelations, the violence on the yacht had finally crashed over her. "So what now?" Reese asked. "Now we wait. My contacts are preparing your new identities. Canadian citizens, clean histories, Enough backstory to pass any inspection. Alexis pulled out a tablet. But first, you need to see this. She showed them a news broadcast from CNN, the yacht burning in the Caribbean, reports of a Russian oligarch's arrest by Coast Guard, and then the real shock Senator Hayes announcing his resignation, effective immediately. Hayes is out? Madison finally spoke. More than out. He's cooperating fully with authorities, naming names, providing documents. Alexis swiped to another feed. The whole network is collapsing. Drake dead, Dmitri arrested, Hayes flipped. Years of careful construction destroyed in days. By you. By us. All of us. She set down the tablet. Madison, your attempt to frame Reese started this avalanche. Reese, your refusal to play along accelerated it. Every move, every counter-move, led here. Where's here exactly? Reese sat beside Madison, not quite touching. The gulf between them felt oceanic. The end, or a new beginning, depends on your perspective. Alexis moved to the window. I've been thinking about Timothy, about you killing him, Madison. Madison tensed. Are you going to... Thank you. Alexis turned, her expression unreadable. He was my brother, but I knew what he was, what our father made him, a tool like me, trained from childhood to manipulate, to seduce, to betray. He chose you as a target, but somewhere along the way he forgot the mission. He loved me, Madison said quietly. He thought he did. But people like us, we don't know love from tactics. Every emotion is potentially a weapon, every connection a vulnerability. She looked at Reese. That's why I helped you. You're exactly what you appear to be, an honest man caught in dishonest circumstances. Do you know how rare that is in our world? I'm not that noble. I was ready to destroy Madison to save myself. But you didn't. Even when you had every reason to, you protected her. Got her out of the country instead of throwing her to the FBI. Alexis smiled sadly. Timothy would have liked you. You're the kind of man he pretended to be. A knock at the door interrupted them. Alexis checked the peephole, then opened it to reveal a young Cuban woman carrying manila envelopes. Your new lives, Alexis said, distributing the packages. David and Sarah Clark, software consultant and freelance writer, boring, middle-class, invisible. Reese examined his new passport. The photo was recent. How had they managed that? But the name felt alien. And we just disappear? If you're smart. There's a house in Manitoba, small town, good schools for the baby, money in accounts that can't be traced, everything you need to start over. What about you? Madison asked. I have my own disappearing to do. Dmitri has friends who won't appreciate tonight's betrayal. Alexis moved toward the door. There's a flight tomorrow night, Havana to Mexico City to Calgary. After that, you're on your own. Wait. Madison stood. Why did you really save us? It wasn't just about Reese being noble. Alexis paused at the door. When I was watching you all those months of surveillance, I saw something I'd never seen before. Two people who actually loved each other, despite the lies, despite everything. Timothy never had that. Neither did I. Maybe I wanted to preserve it, see if it could survive. And can it? Reese asked, looking at Madison. That's up to you. Alexis opened the door. Goodbye, Mr. and Mrs. Clark. Try not to waste your second chance. She was gone, leaving them alone in the safe house with their new identities and old wounds. The silence stretched until Madison finally broke it. She's right. About Timothy, about me, about all of it. She turned to Reese, tears streaming. I've been playing roles so long I don't know who I really am anymore. The grieving widow, the perfect wife, the corporate shark, all masks. So take them off, Reese said simply. It's not that easy. Under the masks is just nothing. A scared girl who lost a baby and never dealt with it, who killed a man and convinced herself it was justice, who betrayed the only person who ever really loved her. Madison. Sarah, she corrected bitterly. Madison's dead. Has to be, right? So I'm Sarah now. Sarah Clark, freelance writer. Mother Tobe, wife of David. We don't have to do this, Reese said. We could turn ourselves in, face the consequences. Could we? Really? She moved to the window, looking out at the Havana streets. Even if we survive the legal system, what then? Your career's destroyed. Mine, too. We'd be those people, the corrupt lawyer and his spy wife. Is that the legacy you want for our child? Our child. The words hung between them, bridge and barrier both. I don't know, Reese admitted. I don't know anything anymore. 3 weeks ago, I had a life that made sense. A career, a marriage, a future. Now you have the truth. Ugly as it is. Madison Sarah turned from the window. So what do you want to do with it? Reese thought about the question. Really thought about it. The smart play was to run, take the new identities, build a quiet life somewhere cold and safe. The noble play was to return, testify, help clean up the mess they'd helped create. The vengeful play was to leave Madison to face justice alone. But what was the right play? Was there even such a thing anymore? His phone, the burner Alexis had provided, buzzed. A text from Colin. FBI dropped all charges. You're clear to come home. Both of you. Call me. He showed Madison the message. She read it, then laughed a broken sound. It's a trap, has to be. Maybe, or maybe Alexis's operation worked better than we thought. Maybe we really are free. Free. She tasted the word. Are we? Can we ever be? Another text from Colin. Paige is here. She's been worried sick. She wants to know you're both okay. Paige, Madison whispered. God, I forgot about Paige. My sister thinks I'm dead or kidnapped or... So call her. And say what? Hi, sis. I'm in Cuba with the husband I tried to frame, pregnant with his baby, deciding whether to fake our deaths or come home to face the music. It's a start. Madison stared at him. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed. Real laughter this time, not bitter or broken. You know what? You're right. It's all absurd. The lies, the spies, the midnight escapes. We're living in a bad thriller novel. So how does it end? I don't know. How do you want it to end? Reese considered. The safe, smart choice was obvious. But when had they ever made safe, smart choices? I want to go home, he said finally. Face whatever's waiting. Together if you'll have me. Apart if you won't. But no more running. No more lies. Even if home means prison? Even then. Madison studied his face, looking for the angle, the deception. Finding none, she nodded slowly. Okay, we go home, face the music. Have this baby in an American hospital with our real names. She managed a weak smile. Think they'll let me deliver in handcuffs? Only one way to find out. They sat together on the faded couch, not quite touching but closer than they'd been in months. Outside, Havana pulsed with music and life. Inside, two people who'd lost everything prepared to risk what little remained on the radical possibility of truth. The masks had fallen. What remained was just Reese and Madison, flawed, compromised, but finally honest. It wasn't much to build a future on, but it was something, and sometimes something was enough. The Miami airport hummed with typical chaos as Reese and Madison cleared customs. Their real passports felt strange after days of being the Clarks. FBI agents waited beyond the security checkpoint, not with handcuffs, but with careful courtesy. Mr. Morrison? Mrs. Morrison? Agent Mitchell looked tired, older than when they'd last seen her. Welcome home. Are we under arrest? Madison asked. That depends entirely on your cooperation. Shall we? They were led to black SUVs, the Miami sun blazing overhead. No cuffs, but no freedom either. The liminal space between accusation and absolution. Where's Colin? Reese asked as they drove. Waiting in D.C. along with your sister, Mrs. Morrison, and a room full of lawyers. Mitchell turned from the front seat. You two have caused quite a stir. Russian oligarchs, dead politicians, international incidents. Some people want you crucified. Others think you're heroes. We're neither, Madison said quietly. No, you're not. You're something more dangerous wildcards who upset a very delicate balance. Mitchell studied them. Vincent Drake's death started an avalanche. Senator Hayes gave us everything to save his skin. 53 arrests so far, more coming. The entire East Coast Corridor's corruption network is in flames. Because of us? Because of Alexandra Chenkov, though she seems to have vanished as efficiently as she appeared. Mitchell's smile was sharp. Funny how that works. Almost like someone very powerful wanted her to disappear. They drove in silence through Florida's endless sprawl. Reese held Madison's hand, feeling her pulse race. Whatever waited in D.C., They'd face it together. The decision made in that Havana safe house had crystallized during the flight home. No more running, no more lies. "I need to know," Madison said suddenly, "about Timothy, his death. Am I being charged?" "That's complicated. Timothy Madison, or Timofey Volkov, was an unregistered foreign agent. His death was previously ruled accidental. Reopening it now would require explaining why Russian intelligence was operating freely in D.C. Mitchell shrugged. "Sometimes the truth is too expensive to pursue. So I'm free?" "Free is a strong word. Let's say you're useful. Your testimony about Drake's network, the money laundering, the blackmail that's worth more than prosecuting a 5-year-old self-defense case." Madison slumped in relief. Reese squeezed her hand tighter. The FBI jet to D.C. was surreal: leather seats and careful questions, recorded statements and bottled water. Mitchell and her team extracted every detail about Drake, Hayes, the Russian connections. By the time they landed at Reagan National, Reese felt hollowed out. Colin waited on the tarmac, looking haggard but smiling. "Jesus Christ, you two. Do you know what you've put me through?" He hugged Reese fiercely, then more carefully embraced Madison. Behind him, Paige Morrison rushed forward, tears streaming. "Maddie! Oh my God, Maddie, I thought you were dead!" The sisters clung to each other while Colin pulled Reese aside. "The firm's in chaos," he said quietly. "Half the partners want you back immediately. The other half want you disbarred. I've been holding them off, but—" "It doesn't matter," Reese interrupted. "I'm done with Morrison, Chen, and Associates." Colin blinked. "What?" "I can't go back to that life, pretending everything's normal, billing hours, playing the game." He watched Madison with her sister. "Too much has changed. So what will you do?" "I don't know. Maybe public defense. Maybe teaching. Something that matters." "And Madison?" "That's up to her." The ride to FBI headquarters was a blur of family and federal agents. In the conference room, more lawyers waited: Madison's team, Reese's team, government prosecutors. The machinery of justice grinding toward resolution. "Here's the deal," the lead prosecutor announced. "Full cooperation, complete testimony about the Drake network. In exchange, immunity for all actions taken under duress or in self-defense. This includes the Timothy Madison matter." "And Haley Morrison?" Reese asked. "She was coerced too." "Already handled. Miss Morrison has been cleared and compensated. She's returning to practice in Ohio." "What about my firm?" Madison asked. "My clients?" "Your firm's assets have been frozen pending investigation. Your legitimate clients have been transferred to other agencies, the ones involved in Drake's network." He shrugged. "They have bigger problems." Papers were produced, agreements negotiated. Through it all, Reese watched Madison navigate the legal labyrinth with practiced ease. Even pregnant, exhausted, and facing the wreckage of her life, she was formidable. "One more thing," Mitchell said as they prepared to sign. "Dmitry Volkov wants to make a deal. Information about Russian intelligence operations in exchange for reduced charges. He's willing to testify about his son's death, confirm it was self-defense." Madison's pen hesitated over the immunity agreement. "Why would he do that?" "Because Alexandra asked him to. Apparently, she visited him in federal custody. Whatever she said, it changed his perspective." Mitchell leaned forward. "He wants to meet with you, both of you." "No," Reese said immediately. "I'll do it," Madison said quietly. "I owe him that much." Madison: "I killed his son, Reese. Self-defense or not, I took Timothy from him. If he needs to see me to say whatever he needs to say, I can give him that." 3 hours later, they sat across from Dmitry Volkov in a federal holding facility. The old man looked diminished, his shoulder bandaged, his arrogance replaced by something like grief. "You came," he said simply. "You asked," Madison replied. "Alexandra says I was wrong, that Timothy would have destroyed you eventually, turned you into something like himself, a tool for the state." He studied Madison's face. "She says you saved him from becoming a monster. I don't know about that. Neither do I. But I know my son loved you in his way, and I know you carry new life now." His eyes moved to her stomach. "A chance for something better, perhaps." "Perhaps." Dmitry leaned back. "I will testify, confirm the self-defense, Clear your name. This is my gift to my grandchild, a mother without blood on her hands. The blood's still there, Madison said softly. Yes, but perhaps it can nurture something better. Timothy's child died with him. Let yours live without his shadow. They left Dmitri to his regrets and federal charges. Outside, D.C. sprawled in all its marble glory, unchanged by their private dramas. Hotel? Reese asked. Home, Madison said. Whatever's left of it. The Georgetown townhouse stood empty, furniture covered in sheets, dust motes dancing in afternoon light, their perfect life preserved like a museum exhibit. We could sell it, Madison suggested. Start fresh somewhere else. We could. But this is where we built our life. The good and the bad. Maybe we should face that too. Madison moved through the rooms, touching familiar objects. Their wedding photo still sat on the mantel, two young people unaware of what was coming. I was happy here, she said. Despite everything, I was happy. So was I. Think we can be again? Only one way to find out. That night, they slept in their own bed for the first time in weeks. No more running, no more false identities. Just Reese and Madison Morrison picking up the pieces of a shattered life. The pursuit was over. The agents satisfied. The criminals arrested or dead. The networks destroyed. What remained was harder the daily work of rebuilding trust, of creating something true from the ashes of so many lies. Madison curled against him, her hand on her growing belly. What do we tell the baby? About all of this? The truth, Reese said. When they're old enough, that their parents made mistakes, terrible ones, but that they fought to make things right. Is that enough? It has to be. Outside, Washington, D.C. slept, its secrets buried beneath marble and ambition. Inside a Georgetown townhouse, two survivors of their own war began the harder battle of peace. The chase was over. The real work of forgiveness, of building a future on scorched earth, had just begun. The federal courthouse in downtown D.C. looked like a fortress under siege. News vans lined the street, their satellite dishes reaching toward the gray January sky like metal prayers. Protesters waved signs, some calling Madison Morrison a traitor, others hailing her as a whistleblower who'd exposed corruption at the highest levels. Inside courtroom 4B, Reese sat in the gallery's front row, watching his wife enter in shackles. 6 months pregnant now, Madison moved carefully, her orange jumpsuit stretched tight across her belly. The image would dominate tomorrow's headlines, the pregnant spy in chains. All rise, the bailiff called. The Honorable Judge Patricia Coleman presiding. Reese's blood chilled. Patricia Coleman, the same judge mentioned in Madison's files as being bought by Drake. But Drake was dead, and Coleman remained, her severe face giving nothing away as she took her seat. United States versus Madison Morrison, she intoned, on charges of conspiracy, money laundering, and murder in the first degree. The murder charge had been a surprise. The FBI's immunity deal had supposedly covered Timothy's death, but new evidence had emerged security footage from the hotel where Timothy died, showing Madison entering his room hours before his car went into the lake. The prosecutor, Margaret Sullivan, had pounced on it like a hungry wolf. Your Honor, Madison's lawyer, David Chen, no relation to Marcus or Alexis, stood. We move for dismissal of the murder charge. The death of Timothy Madison was ruled accidental 5 years ago, by a coroner who's now under federal investigation for taking bribes, Sullivan interrupted. New evidence clearly shows counselors. Judge Coleman's voice cut like ice. Save it for your opening statements. How does the defendant plead? Madison stood, her voice steady despite everything. Not guilty on all charges, Your Honor. The gallery erupted in whispers. Reese caught Madison's eye as she was led to the defense table. She managed a small smile, her hand moving protectively over their unborn child. Mr. Morrison. Reese turned to find Agent Mitchell beside him, her expression grim. We need to talk. Now. In the courthouse cafeteria, Mitchell slid a tablet across the table. The screen showed a grainy photo of a man in a parking garage. Marcus Rivera, professional assassin, known as the Ghost. He entered the country yesterday. She swiped to another image, Rivera outside Reese's hotel. We have credible intelligence that someone's put a contract on your wife, and possibly you. Who? That's the million-dollar question. Could be remnants of Drake's network. Could be the Russians. Could be someone we haven't identified yet. Mitchell leaned forward. We can offer protection, but Madison has to cooperate fully. I know the game. Reese pushed the tablet back. She's already cooperating. What more do you want? The truth about Alexandra Chenkov, where she is, what she knows. I told you we don't... Mr. Morrison. Mitchell's voice hardened. Your wife is facing life in prison while pregnant with your child. If she knows something that could help her case, now's the time. Back in the courtroom, the first day of testimony began. Sullivan painted Madison as a master manipulator, a woman who'd married for advantage, killed to protect her secrets, and sold out her country for money. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Sullivan prowled before the jury box, the defendant wants you to believe she's a victim, forced into crime by circumstances beyond her control. But the evidence will show a pattern of calculated deception spanning years. She clicked a remote, and Madison's face appeared on the courtroom screens. Not the pregnant woman at the defense table, but Madison from 5 years ago, laughing at some party, Timothy beside her. This photo was taken 2 weeks before Timothy Madison's death. Does she look like a battered wife? A woman in fear for her life? Chen objected, but the damage was done. More photos followed Madison with Drake, with mysterious men in expensive suits, at her PR firm's luxurious offices. The defendant lived a life of privilege built on blood money and treason, and when her first husband threatened to expose her, she eliminated him. When her second husband grew suspicious, she tried to frame him for sexual assault. This is not a victim. This is a predator. The first witness was Angela Morrison, the bank manager who'd discovered Madison's secret accounts. Her testimony was devastating offshore holdings, suspicious transfers, connections to known criminal enterprises. Did the defendant ever explain these accounts? Sullivan asked. She said they were for clients, but the patterns... Angela shook her head. I've seen money laundering before. This was textbook. Chen's cross-examination tried to establish doubt, but Angela held firm. The numbers didn't lie, even if everyone else did. That evening, Reese met with Madison in the courthouse holding cell. Through the bars, she looked exhausted, older than her 38 years. How's the baby? He asked. Kicking. I think she knows something's wrong. Madison managed a weak smile. Chen says the murder charge changes everything. Even if I beat the other charges, if they convict on Timothy. They won't. Dmitri's going to testify. Dmitri's in federal custody. A Russian oligarch with every reason to lie. She gripped the bars. Reese, if something happens to me, promise you'll take care of the baby. Nothing's going to happen. Promise me. I promise. But Madison, you have to fight. The woman I married wouldn't give up. The woman you married was a fiction. Tears streamed down her face. Everything I touched turned to poison. Maybe it's better if... Stop. Reese reached through the bars, taking her hands. You're not perfect. Neither am I. But you're the mother of my child, and I'm not letting you give up. We're going to fight this. Together. A guard appeared. Time's up. As Reese left, his phone buzzed. Colin, get out of there. Now. Rivera's in the building. Reese ran. Behind him, an alarm began to wail. Gunshots echoed through marble halls. By the time security locked down the courthouse, 3 people were dead, the guard outside Madison's cell, a U.S. Marshal, and Marcus the Ghost Rivera himself, taken down by FBI agents who'd been tracking him. Madison survived, saved by bulletproof glass and federal agents. But the message was clear: someone wanted her dead before she could testify. That night, Reese sat in his hotel room watching news coverage of the shooting. His phone rang, unknown number. Mr. Morrison. The voice was electronically distorted. Your wife has information that certain parties need to remain buried. Convince her to plead guilty and accept life in prison, or next time we won't miss. Who is this? Someone who knows where Alexandra Chenkov is hiding. Someone who knows about the second set of books your wife kept. Someone who can destroy you both or save you. Your choice. The line went dead. Reese stared at the phone, then at the TV showing Madison's face. The trial of the century had just become a death match, and he didn't even know who all the players were. But he knew one thing: Madison wouldn't plead guilty. not with their child's future at stake, which meant they had to find another way to survive this trial, even if it killed them both. The second week of Madison's trial brought revelations that shook Washington to its foundations. FBI Director William Thornton personally took the stand, his testimony painting a picture of corruption that reached into every corner of government. Operation Drake wasn't just about one senator's illegal campaign funding, Thornton testified. It was a systematic infiltration of American democracy by foreign interests, facilitated by a network of compromised officials, business leaders, and yes, public relations firms. Madison watched from the defense table, her face carved from stone. Reese could see the calculation in her eyes. Every name Thornton mentioned was another potential enemy, another reason for someone to want her silenced. Chen rose for cross-examination. Director Thornton, isn't it true that Madison Morrison has been cooperating with your investigation for months? She has provided some information, yes. Some information? She gave you Vincent Drake, Senator Hayes, the entire money laundering operation. Without her cooperation, would you have broken this network? Thornton shifted uncomfortably. Her information was helpful. Yet you're allowing her to be prosecuted for murder based on evidence that conveniently appeared after she began cooperating. Doesn't that seem like retaliation? Objection, Sullivan called. Counsel is testifying. Sustained. But Chen had made his point. The jury looked thoughtful, some taking notes. In the gallery, reporters typed furiously. That afternoon brought a surprise witness, Jonathan Meridian, CEO of the pharmaceutical company at the center of the scandal. He entered the courtroom like a man walking to his execution, which in a career sense, he was. Mr. Meridian, Sullivan began, what was your relationship with the defendant? Meridian's eyes found Madison briefly before answering. We were involved, romantically, 3 years ago. The gallery stirred. Reese kept his face neutral, though the confirmation of Madison's affair still stung. Tell us about that relationship. It started as business. Madison's firm was handling our PR during a difficult product launch. We spent long hours together. Her husband was always working. He trailed off, looking at Reese apologetically. I'm not proud of it. What ended the affair? Madison did. Said it was a mistake, that she loved her husband. I didn't take it well. Meridian's voice dropped. I threatened to destroy her firm, tell her husband everything. That's when she showed me the photos. What photos? Of us together, intimate moments. She said if I tried to hurt her, they'd go public. My wife, my board of directors, it would have ruined me. So she blackmailed you? No. Meridian shook his head. She said we could both walk away clean, pretend it never happened. And we did, until someone else got those photos, started demanding money, information about our drug trials, access to our research. His voice turned bitter. Madison warned me it might happen. Said she'd destroyed her copies, but others might have obtained them. Sullivan pounced. Others like Vincent Drake? I don't know. The demands came through encrypted channels, but they knew things only Madison could have told them. Chen's cross-examination revealed a different story. Under questioning, Meridian admitted he'd been embezzling from his company for years, that the affair with Madison had been his attempt to compromise her, make her complicit in his crimes. You seduced her, not the other way around, Chen stated. It was mutual. Was it? Or did you target the wife of the lawyer investigating your company? Meridian's silence spoke volumes. That evening, Reese found Colin waiting outside his hotel room, face grim. We have a problem, Colin said, pushing inside. Remember that USB drive Paige gave me? The one with evidence against Madison? What about it? I had it analyzed by an independent expert. Half the documents are forgeries. Good ones, but forgeries. Colin pulled out a laptop. Someone manufactured evidence against Madison. Mixed it with real documents to make it believable. Who? That's what I'm trying to figure out. But Reese, if Madison was framed for some of this, then maybe she was framed for Timothy's murder too. Reese felt pieces clicking into place. We need to find Paige, now. But Paige Morrison had vanished. Her Baltimore apartment was empty, her phone disconnected. The building manager said she'd left suddenly 3 days ago, right after the attempt on Madison's life. Federal protection, Collins suggested. Or running scared. Reese stared at Paige's abandoned apartment. She knew something. That's why she gave you the USB. Not to help prosecute Madison, but to his phone rang. Agent Mitchell. There's been a development. Vincent Drake we need to meet. Drake's dead. That's the development. He's not. The safe house where Mitchell brought them looked ordinary from the outside, a suburban rambler in Arlington. Inside was a different story. Federal agents, surveillance equipment, and in the living room, very much alive, Vincent Drake. He looked terrible thin, scarred, his political polish replaced by the haunted look of a man living on borrowed time, but definitely breathing. "Hello, Reese," Drake said. "Sorry about the deception. Dying was the only way to get out alive." "You son of a bitch." Reese started forward, but Colin held him back. "Do you have any idea what you've put us through?" "Better than you know. I've been in protective custody since the car accident, testifying in secret to grand juries, helping the FBI unravel networks I spent years building." Drake's smile was bitter. "Turns out I was as much a pawn as anyone. The real players, Senator Hayes. Hayes was middle management. The real power was always Dmitry Volkov and his associates. The pharmaceutical espionage, the political manipulation, even Madison's recruitment, all orchestrated from Moscow. Madison wasn't recruited. She refused. Did she?" Drake leaned forward. "Or did she play a deeper game? Timothy Volkov wasn't just her handler, Reese. He was her partner. She didn't kill him because he was abusing her. She killed him because he was about to expose her to his father as a double agent." "You're lying." "Am I? Ask yourself why Alexandra really helped you. Why Dmitry suddenly wants to testify for Madison. They're protecting their asset. Their asset is 6 months pregnant and facing life in prison. The perfect cover. Who suspects a pregnant woman in chains?" Drake stood, moving to the window. "Tomorrow I testify. I'll expose everything, the Russian connections, the murder of Timothy, Madison's real role, unless what? Unless you convince her to tell the truth, all of it, where Alexandra is, what the Russians really want, the location of the real books, not the forgeries Paige provided, but Madison's actual records." Reese stared at Drake, then at Mitchell. "This is what you wanted all along, not justice leverage." "Welcome to Washington," Mitchell said. "Justice is just another word for the deal you can live with." Outside the safe house, Reese and Colin sat in the car, processing what they'd learned. "Do you believe him?" Colin asked. "About Madison being a double agent?" "I don't know what to believe anymore." Reese rubbed his face. "But Drake alive changes everything. His testimony could destroy her. Or save her if she cooperates. If she knows anything to cooperate with." Reese started the engine. "We need to find Paige. She's the key to all of this." As they drove away, neither noticed the figure watching from a nearby roof. Marcus Rivera was dead, but the ghost he'd worked for remained very much alive, and tomorrow's testimony would determine who lived, who died, and who disappeared forever into the shadow world where Madison Morrison had lived for so long. The network was collapsing, but like any dying beast, it was most dangerous in its final throes. Vincent Drake's resurrection sent shockwaves through the packed courtroom. Reporters scrambled over each other as U.S. Marshals escorted him to the witness stand. Madison's face went white as death, her hand clutching Reese's so hard he thought his fingers might break. "The witness will state his name for the record," Judge Coleman said, her own composure clearly shaken. "Vincent Marcus Drake, former candidate for United States Senate. Current witness in federal protection." Sullivan approached like a shark scenting blood. "Mr. Drake, the world believes you died in a car accident 4 months ago. Can you explain?" "The accident was staged by federal authorities after 3 attempts on my life. Someone wanted me dead before I could testify." His eyes found Madison. "Someone with a lot to lose. Tell us about your relationship with the defendant." Drake's testimony was a masterclass in controlled devastation. He laid out the entire network Russian money flowing through Madison's PR firm, intelligence gathered from her clients, the systematic compromise of American officials. "Madison Morrison wasn't just a participant," Drake said. "She was the architect. The Russians trusted her because she'd proven herself with Timothy's death." "Objection!" Chen shot up. "Witness is speculating." "I have recordings," Drake interrupted. "Conversations between Madison and Dmitry Volkov. Would you like to hear them?" The courtroom held its breath as Drake produced a flash drive. Soon, Madison's voice filled the room, speaking Russian with surprising fluency. Timothy was becoming a liability, her recorded voice said. His American conscience was interfering with operations. So you eliminated him, Dmitri's voice responded. I protected the network, and myself. Reese felt the world tilt. Beside him, Madison's sister Paige suddenly materialized, sliding into the empty seat. It's not what it sounds like, Paige whispered urgently. Those recordings are edited. I can prove it. But before she could say more, U.S. Marshals surrounded them. Paige Morrison, you're under arrest for obstruction of justice and evidence tampering. The courtroom erupted. Judge Coleman banged her gavel repeatedly as Paige was dragged away, shouting, The recordings are fake. Madison was trying to protect everyone. Ask about Project Gemini. Order! I will have order! Coleman's face was purple with rage. Counsel, approach. During the sidebar, Madison turned to Reese, tears streaming. I can explain. Can you? Can you really? Reese pulled his hand away. You spoke Russian? You had conversations with Dmitri about Timothy's death? I was undercover, deep cover for the CIA. Everything I did... She stopped as the lawyers returned. Your Honor, Chen announced, in light of new developments, the defense requests a recess to review this evidence. Granted, we'll reconvene Monday morning. As Madison was led away, she called back to Reese. Find Project Gemini. It's all there. Everything. That weekend, Reese and Colin turned their hotel room into a war room. Papers covered every surface as they searched for any reference to Project Gemini. Got it, Colin said at 3 a.m. Sunday morning. CIA operation from the late 90s, recruiting foreign nationals' spouses as intelligence assets. Madison, Reese breathed. She didn't marry Timothy by accident. She was assigned to him, which means she wasn't a Russian asset. She was ours all along. The revelation reframed everything. Madison's affairs, her secrets, even Timothy's death, all part of a CIA operation gone wrong. But if that was true, why hadn't the agency protected her? Because someone burned her, Colin said, reading Reese's thoughts. Someone very high up wanted her cut loose. Reese's phone rang, a blocked number. Mr. Morrison? This is Director Angela Foster, CIA. I understand you've been asking about Project Gemini. My wife was one of our most valuable assets, until she went rogue. Foster's voice was arctic. She was supposed to gather intelligence on Russian operations, not murder her handler. If Timothy was going to blow her cover, then she should have extracted, not eliminated. Madison Morrison became a liability the moment she acted unilaterally. The agency disavowed her 5 years ago. And now, she's facing life in prison for serving her country. She's facing justice for exceeding her authority. The recordings Drake has are real, Mr. Morrison. Edited for context, perhaps, but real. Your wife did plan Timothy's death. Not for us, but for herself. I don't believe you. Believe what you want. But know this, if Madison reveals classified information in open court, she won't live to see your child born. That's not a threat. It's an assessment of how many foreign services want her silenced. The line went dead. Reese threw the phone against the wall. Monday morning brought Madison back to court, now shackled to a wheelchair as her pregnancy advanced. The judge had denied Chen's motion to suppress Drake's recordings. The defense calls Dmitry Volkov, Chen announced. The Russian entered under heavy guard, his testimony delivered via video link from federal prison. His words should have helped Madison, confirming she'd acted in self-defense against Timothy. Instead, they damned her further. She was magnificent, Dmitry said with something like admiration. Played everyone's CIA, FSB, her husband, even me. I thought I was running her through Timothy, but she was running us all. What do you mean? The intelligence she provided was carefully chosen, enough to seem valuable, not enough to truly damage Russian interests. Meanwhile, she was building her own network, her own power base. Timothy discovered this. That's why she killed him. But you offered to testify in her defense. Because I admire survivors, and because my daughter asked me to. Dmitri's eyes found the camera. Alexandra still believes Madison can be saved. I know better. Some players are too dangerous for any board. Chen tried damage control, but Dmitri was unshakable. Madison had been a triple agent, playing all sides for her own benefit. The pregnancy with Reese was just another manipulation, insurance against prosecution. No, Madison said suddenly, violating her lawyer's explicit instructions not to speak. That's not true. The baby Reese, that was never part of any plan. The defendant will remain silent, Judge Coleman warned. But Madison stood, swaying slightly. I've been silent too long. Your Honor, I want to testify. Madison, no, Chen hissed. I want to tell the truth, all of it. No more lies, no more games. She looked at Reese. He deserves that much, Coleman considered. Very well, the defendant will take the stand. As Madison moved to the witness box, Reese saw something in her eyes he'd never seen before. Peace. The woman who'd worn so many masks was finally ready to show her real face. Whether that would save or damn her remained to be seen. Madison Morrison took the oath with her hand on a Bible that had seen too many lies sworn over it. 7 months pregnant now, she looked fragile in the witness box, but her voice rang clear and strong. State your name for the record, Sullivan commanded. Madison Elizabeth Morrison, born Magdalena Eliazova in Prague, 1962. She looked directly at Reese. My real name, the first truth of many I owe this court. The revelation rippled through the gallery. Reese felt the ground shift beneath him again. His wife wasn't even American. You've been living under a false identity? Since 1985, the CIA brought me over after my parents were killed by the Soviets. They were dissidents. I was 17, angry and perfect recruit material. Madison's hands rested on her swollen belly. They gave me a new name, a new life, and a mission to infiltrate Russian intelligence networks operating in America. And Timothy Volkov was my assignment, Dmitri's son, young FSB, stationed in D.C. under diplomatic cover. I was supposed to get close, gather intelligence, report back. Her voice wavered. I wasn't supposed to fall in love with him. Sullivan scoffed. Love? You killed him. Because he was going to kill me first. Madison straightened. Timothy discovered I was CIA. Not through brilliant deduction, someone told him. Someone who wanted me burned. Who? I never found out. But Timothy went crazy. Said I'd betrayed him, used him. Which was true at first. But by then, she touched her stomach again. I was pregnant. His child. I wanted out from the CIA, from the lies. I wanted to be real. So you murdered him. I defended myself. He attacked me in that hotel room. It was him or me, and I chose me. Chose the baby I was carrying. Tears streamed down her face. Afterward, I was terrified. The CIA disavowed me, said I'd gone rogue. The Russians wanted me dead. So I did the only thing I could. I made it look like an accident and disappeared into my cover identity completely. What happened to the baby? Madison's composure finally cracked. Miscarriage. 2 weeks after Timothy died, the stress, the violence. She sobbed. I lost everything, my handler, my child, my purpose. So I became Madison Morrison for real, met Reese. Built a life that wasn't a lie. Until Vincent Drake found you. He knew who I was. Had a file the CIA supposedly destroyed, threatened to expose me unless I helped him. She wiped her eyes. But I was tired of being everyone's pawn. So I played along while gathering evidence. I was going to destroy them all, Drake, his network, everyone who'd used me. By framing your husband? By forcing the FBI to act. They knew about Drake's operations, but didn't care too many important people were compromised. But if Reese was threatened, if a prominent lawyer was being framed. She met Reese's eyes. I knew he'd fight back. Knew he'd expose everything to save himself. He's the most honorable man I've ever known. I used that honor against him. The courtroom was silent. Even Sullivan seemed momentarily lost for words. Mrs. Morrison, Chen rose for cross-examination. Project Gemini, can you tell us about it? Objection, Sullivan called. Relevance? Goes to the defendant's state of mind, Your Honor. I'll allow it. Madison nodded. Project Gemini was the CIA's program for turning foreign agents' families, spouses, siblings, children. We were trained to seduce, marry, reproduce, whatever it took to get inside. How many agents were in this program? 12 that I knew of. I'm the only one still alive. What happened to the others? Burned, killed, disappeared. The program was deemed too unstable, too prone to agents developing real feelings. Madison's laugh was bitter. Turns out you can't train someone to fake love without risking the real thing. Is that what happened with Reese Morrison? Real feelings? Yes. Madison looked at her husband. Reese was never supposed to happen. After Timothy, after losing the baby, I was done with love, but he was so good, so purely himself. No hidden agendas, no secret identities, just a man who wanted to build a life with someone. And the child you're carrying now is the only completely honest thing I've ever done. Madison's hand covered her belly protectively. This baby was made in love, not calculation. Whatever happens to me, I need the court to know that. A commotion at the courtroom doors interrupted. Federal agents entered, escorting a woman Reese recognized from photographs Director Angela Foster, CIA. Your Honor, Foster announced, the agency invokes national security privilege. This testimony must cease immediately. On what grounds? Coleman demanded. The defendant is revealing classified operations that could endanger current assets. Foster's eyes were steel. We have authorization from the highest levels to stop this trial if necessary. This is still America, Director Foster. You can't simply— Yes, Your Honor, we can. Foster produced a document. Presidential finding. This trial is hereby sealed. All testimony regarding Project Gemini is classified. The courtroom erupted. Coleman banged her gavel futilely as reporters shouted questions and lawyers shouted objections. Through the chaos, a single gunshot rang out. Madison slumped in the witness box, blood spreading across her orange jumpsuit. Pandemonium, screaming. Federal agents tackling a figure in the gallery, Jonathan Meridian, pistol still in his hand. For Timothy! Meridian screamed as they dragged him away. She destroyed everything! My company, my life! Reese vaulted the barrier, reaching Madison as EMTs swarmed. She was conscious, barely, her hands clutched around her belly. The baby! She gasped. Save the baby! You're going to be fine, Reese lied, seeing too much blood. Both of you are going to be fine. Tell her, tell our daughter I loved her, that everything I did. Madison's eyes fluttered. Tell her I tried to be real. The EMTs pushed Reese aside, working frantically. On the floor, Madison's blood mixed with years of other defendants' tears and fears. The courtroom that had seen so many endings was witnessing another. As they wheeled Madison out, Director Foster approached Reese. I'm sorry. We never wanted this. Get away from me. Mr. Morrison, there are things you need to know about your wife, about the baby. I said get away. Colin appeared, pulling Reese back. Not here. Not now. The hospital waiting room became Reese's world. Hours passed in a blur of coffee and updates. Emergency surgery. Complications. The baby was in distress. Madison had lost too much blood. Finally, a doctor emerged. Mr. Morrison, your daughter is stable. 6 pounds, 3 ounces. She's in the NICU, but breathing on her own. And Madison? The doctor's face said everything. I'm sorry. The damage was too extensive. She fought hard, but... Reese's legs gave out. Colin caught him, held him as he sobbed. Madison was gone. The woman of 1,000 faces, a dozen names, countless lies, was finally, irrevocably real in death. Later in the NICU, Reese held his daughter for the first time. She had Madison's eyes, Timothy's sharp features, but something uniquely her own, a chance at a life without secrets. Emma, he whispered. Your name is Emma. Your mother wanted you to know she loved you, that everything she did was for love. The baby gripped his finger with surprising strength. Outside the hospital window, Washington, D.C. glittered with its eternal promises and betrayals. But inside, a father held his daughter and made a different kind of promise: no lies, no secret identities, no hidden agendas. Just truth, however painful, and love, however complicated. Madison Morrison was dead. Magdalena Eliazova was dead. But in Reese's arms, Emma Morrison lived the first honest thing to come from a marriage built on deception. It wasn't the ending anyone had planned. But then again, nothing in their story had ever gone according to plan. 2 years had passed since the shooting that changed everything. The cherry blossoms were in full bloom outside the White House, their pink petals drifting like snow past the window of Reese Morrison's West Wing office. He'd traded his corporate law practice for public service, accepting President James Mitchell's offer to become Deputy White House Counsel. "You're brooding again," Haley Morrison, no relation, as they still joked, said from the doorway. She'd grown into her role at the Justice Department, the frightened girl who'd once been Madison's pawn, now a confident prosecutor. "Just thinking." Reese turned from the window, offering a tired smile. "Emma asked about her mother again last night." "What did you tell her?" "The same lie wrapped in truth, that her mother loved her very much but had to go away." He rubbed his face. "How do you explain to a 2-year-old that her mother is alive but gone? That Madison survived the shooting but isn't Madison anymore?" Haley moved into the office, her hand briefly touching his shoulder. 2 years of careful friendship had evolved into something deeper, though neither had acted on it. The ghost of Madison stood between them, not dead, but not alive either. The shooting had damaged more than Madison's body. The bullet had lodged in her brain, and while the surgeons had saved her life, the woman who woke up 3 months later remembered nothing. Not Reese, not her crimes, not even her name. She was a blank slate in a broken body, transferred eventually to a long-term psychiatric facility in Maryland. "Colin called," Haley said, changing the subject. "The wedding preparations are driving him crazy. Paige wants doves." "Doves?" Despite everything, Reese laughed. "For a former federal witness and a law partner? That's ambitious." "She says they represent new beginnings." Haley's expression softened. "After everything she went through with Madison, I think she deserves all the doves she wants." Paige had been cleared of all charges once the FBI realized she'd been trying to protect both Madison and Reese. Her testimony had helped unravel the last threads of Drake's network. Now she ran a foundation for families affected by espionage, a peculiarly specific charity that had more clients than anyone would have guessed. Reese's phone buzzed. "Morrison." "Mr. Morrison, this is Dr. Sarah Kim at Chesapeake Psychiatric. I'm calling about your wife." His blood chilled. These calls always meant trouble. "Is she all right?" "Physically, yes, but she's been having episodes. Moments of clarity where she seems to remember fragments. She's been asking for you." "She doesn't know who I am." "That's just it, she does, at least partially. She keeps saying she has something important to tell you. About a diary." Reese gripped the phone tighter. "I'll be there this afternoon." After he hung up, Haley studied his face. "You don't have to go. The doctor said these episodes, I know what they said. False memories, neurological misfires." He grabbed his jacket. "But what if this time is different?" "Reese." Haley's voice was gentle. "She's not coming back. The Madison you knew, loved, fought, she's gone. What's in that facility is just an echo. Maybe, but I made a promise, for better or worse." He headed for the door, then paused. "If Emma asks, I'll tell her Daddy had important work, like always." There was no judgment in her tone, just sad understanding. The drive to Chesapeake Psychiatric was familiar now, every curve and exit memorized from dozens of visits. The facility looked like an upscale hotel from the outside, all manicured lawns and cheerful paint. Inside, it smelled of disinfectant and forgotten lives. Dr. Kim met him in the lobby, a slight Korean woman with kind eyes. "Thank you for coming. She's been quite agitated since yesterday." "What triggered it?" "We're not sure." She was in art therapy, painting as usual. Then suddenly she started crying, saying she needed to tell you about the diary before they found it. They walked through secured doors to the long-term care wing. Through reinforced windows, Reese could see patients in various states of lost, some talking to invisible companions, others simply staring at nothing. Madison sat by the window in her room, brushing her hair with mechanical precision. The bullet had left her partially paralyzed on one side, but she'd relearned basic functions with stubborn determination. She looked up as they entered, and for a moment Reese saw a flicker of the woman he'd married. "I know you," she said softly. "You're the man with the sad eyes who brings the little girl." "Hello, Madison." He sat across from her, maintaining the careful distance the doctors recommended. "Dr. Kim said you wanted to tell me something?" "Madison?" She frowned. "Is that my name? They tell me it is, but it doesn't feel right." She set down the brush with her good hand. I dream sometimes, about water, about drowning. There's a man with eyes like winter and he's angry. Timothy. She was remembering Timothy. In the dream, I'm writing in a book, a diary, red leather with a gold lock. Her eyes focused on him with startling clarity. I hid it, in the place where we were happy, before the water, before the anger. Where did you hide it? The blue room with the chandelier. Behind the portrait of the woman who looks like me but isn't. She gripped his hand suddenly, her strength surprising. Find it, please, before the winter man's daughter does. Madison. That's not my name. She pulled away, agitation building. My name is... Her face crumbled. I don't know. I don't know anything except the diary matters. The truth is in the diary. Dr. Kim intervened gently. I think that's enough for today. As they let him out, Madison called after him. The little girl. Is she safe? Tell her the butterflies remember even when the flowers forget. In the parking lot, Reese sat in his car, processing what he'd heard. The blue room with the chandelier, their bedroom in Georgetown. The portrait of the woman who looked like her Madison's grandmother hanging in the walk-in closet. He drove home, letting himself into the house he'd kept but barely lived in. Emma stayed with a nanny most nights while he worked late. The bedroom looked exactly as they'd left it 2 years ago, a shrine to a marriage that had been more fiction than fact. The portrait of Madison's grandmother, or the woman Madison had claimed was her grandmother, hung in the closet. Behind it, he found a small safe he'd never noticed. The combination was Emma's birthday, a date Madison couldn't have known when she'd hidden this. Inside was a red leather diary with a gold lock. The first entry was dated 5 years ago, just after Timothy's death. The handwriting was Madison's, but the words were a stranger's. My name is not Madison Morrison. My name is not Magdalena Eliazova. My name is Marina Volkov, and I am the real daughter of Dmitry Volkov. My twin sister Alexandra and I were separated at 17, she to the FSB, me to the CIA. We've been playing all sides against each other ever since, and now Timothy is dead, and I'm trapped in this identity with no way out. Reese sank onto the closet floor, the diary shaking in his hands. Everything had been a lie. Even Madison's real identity had been a lie. She wasn't a Czech refugee recruited by the CIA. She was Russian nobility, playing a game so complex even she had lost track of the rules. His phone rang. Haley. Reese, where are you? Emma's asking for you and... I found it, he said numbly. Madison's diary. Haley, she's Marina Volkov, Dmitry's actual daughter, Alexandra's twin sister. Silence. Then, come home, Reese. Bring the diary. We need to decide what to do before... The line went dead. Through the bedroom window, Reese saw black SUVs surrounding the house. Federal agents or something worse at this point. Did it matter? He tucked the diary inside his jacket and prepared to face whatever came next. 2 years of rebuilding, of creating a new life from the ashes of the old, and now the past had returned to claim its due. The butterflies remember even when the flowers forget. Madison Marina, whoever she was, had given him one last gift, the truth. Now he had to decide what to do with it. The black SUVs disgorged a familiar figure, Director Angela Foster, CIA, looking like she'd aged a decade in 2 years. She stood on Reese's Georgetown doorstep with the weary authority of someone who'd seen too many secrets surface. Mr. Morrison, I believe you have something that belongs to us. The diary? Reese kept his hand on the door, not inviting her in. Or Marina Volkov? Foster's eye twitched, the only sign of surprise. So, you know, may I come in? This conversation requires privacy. Against his better judgment, Reese let her enter. They sat in the living room where Madison had once played the perfect wife, where Haley had attempted her drunken seduction, where so many lies had been told and discovered. How long have you known? Reese asked. That Madison Morrison was really Marina Volkov? Since the beginning. It was part of the arrangement. Foster accepted the scotch he offered, downing it in one burn. The Volkov twins were a unique opportunity. Identical sisters, one FSB, one turned by us. Or so we thought. She played you. They both did. Marina and Alexandra have been running their own operation for 20 years, playing CIA against FSB against everyone else, building their own network, their own power base. Foster poured another drink. Do you know what's in that diary? I've only read the first entry. Then you don't know the half of it. Account numbers, agent names, operations that could destabilize half of Europe. Marina documented everything insurance against both sides. Reese pulled out the diary, its red leather warm against his chest. What happened to Alexandra, the real one? Still out there, still playing her games. Foster leaned forward. Mr. Morrison, I need that diary. National security. Is that what you told Marina when you recruited her? Or was it Magdalena then? How many lies does national security justify? All of them, Foster said simply. That's the job. That's always been the job. Reese's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Look outside. Through the window, he saw another set of vehicles arriving. Not American, the diplomatic plates gave them away. A tall woman emerged, and even from a distance, the resemblance to Madison was unmistakable. Alexandra, Foster breathed. How did she... She was already reaching for her weapon. No. Reese stood. No more violence. Not in this house. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Two sisters who've been playing chess with human lives for 20 years. Agencies that enabled them. Networks built on blood. He moved to the door. I'm going to talk to her. Morrison, don't. But he was already outside. Alexandra Chenkov, or Volkov, or whatever her real name was, stood by a black Mercedes, looking like Madison would have if life had been kinder. Same face, but without the weight of lies. Hello, Reese. You look well for a man whose life we destroyed. Not destroyed, changed. He kept his distance. You want the diary. I want my sister, the real Marina, not the broken shell in that hospital. Alexandra's composure cracked slightly. Do you know what it's like, sharing a face with someone across enemy lines, never knowing if the person in the mirror is you or her? She doesn't remember you, doesn't remember anything. The doctors are wrong. Marina is still in there, locked away. She stepped closer. The diary has more than secrets, Reese. It has the key to unlocking her memories. A phrase, a code we developed as children. Let me try. Why should I trust you? Because you loved her. Despite everything, you loved my sister. And she loved you, that was real, even if nothing else was. Foster appeared in the doorway, weapon drawn. Stand down, Alexandra. You're on American soil illegally. Actually, I'm not. Alexandra smiled coldly. Diplomatic immunity. I'm here as a cultural attaché for the Russian embassy. All perfectly legal. Like your father? My father is dying. Federal prison doesn't agree with him. The smile vanished. He wants to see Marina before the end. His real daughter, not the fabrication you helped create. A standoff, CIA, FSB, and in the middle, Reese holding a diary that could burn them all. He thought of Emma, safe with her nanny, growing up without a mother. Thought of Madison Marina painting in her hospital room, lost in a fog of forgotten identity. I have a proposal, he said finally. Alexandra tries to unlock Marina's memories. If it works, if Marina chooses to go with her, she goes. If not, everyone walks away. The diary gets destroyed. Unacceptable, Foster snapped. That diary contains evidence of CIA operations that violated American law, Reese interrupted. Operations you'd rather bury anyway. This gives you an out. And if Marina remembers everything, her crimes, the murders, then she faces justice, but as herself, not as a ghost. Alexandra and Foster exchanged looks, natural enemies recognizing a moment of aligned interest. 1 hour, Foster said finally. At the facility, full monitoring. Any sign of extraction attempt, and my teams move in. Agreed, Alexandra said. The drive to Chesapeake Psychiatric was surreal, a CIA convoy and Russian diplomatic vehicles moving in tandem through Maryland suburbs. Dr. Kim met them at the entrance, clearly overwhelmed by the sudden federal presence. This is highly irregular. Nothing about this case has ever been regular, Reese said. Please, let them try. In the observation room, they watched through one-way glass as Alexandra entered Marina's room. The two women faced each other, mirror images separated by memory and madness. Hello, Marinka, Alexandra said softly in Russian. Marina tilted her head. I know that word. Someone used to call me that. When we were children in Moscow. Before the academy, before they split us apart. Alexandra sat carefully, non-threatening. Do you remember the Winter Palace? The room with the butterflies? Butterflies. Marina's good hand fluttered. Gold and blue. Papa brought them from Brazil. Yes, and we made up a song about them. Do you remember? She began to hum a simple melody, haunting in its childishness. Marina's eyes widened, then filled with tears. Sasha? The name came out broken. Sasha, is it you? Da, Marinka, it's me. What happened next was like watching ice crack on a frozen river. Marina's carefully blank expression shattered, memories flooding back in a visible wave. She screamed pain, rage, recognition all mixed together. Timothy! Oh God, Timothy, I killed... She clutched her sister. The baby? I lost the baby, and Reese, where's Reese? Alexandra held her as she sobbed, whispering in Russian. Through the glass, Reese watched his wife remember who she was, what she'd done, what she'd lost. The medical staff moved to intervene, but Foster held them back. Let it finish, she said quietly. It took an hour. Marina cycled through memories like a broken film reel: Timothy's death, her marriage to Reese, the frame job, the shooting. Each revelation brought fresh anguish. Finally exhausted, she looked directly at the mirror. I know you're there, Reese. I can feel you. Her voice was raw but clear. I remember everything. Every lie, every truth, every moment I destroyed something pure because I didn't know how to stop playing the game. Reese pressed his hand against the glass. The diary, Marina continued. Burn it. Let the secrets die. I'm tired of being everyone's weapon. What about Emma? Reese asked, though she couldn't hear him. As if sensing his question, Marina smiled sadly. Tell our daughter her mother loved her enough to let her go, to let her grow up free of this poison. Alexandra helped her sister stand. Come home with me, Marinka. Papa wants to see you. After that, she glanced at the mirror. After that, we'll see. Foster stepped forward. If she leaves, she can never return. That's the deal. I know. Marina faced the mirror one last time. Reese, be happy, you and Emma. Find someone who can love you without lies. You deserve that. They left together. The Volkov twins reunited after 20 years of shadow games. Reese stood in the observation room, holding the diary that had started everything. What now? Foster asked. He pulled out his lighter, the one Madison had given him for their 10th anniversary. The diary caught fire quickly, years of secrets turning to ash and smoke. Now, Reese said, watching the flames, we let the dead bury the dead. Outside, diplomatic vehicles pulled away, carrying Marina Volkov toward whatever awaited her in Moscow. Reese drove home alone, thinking of Emma, of Haley, of futures that might still be possible. The butterflies remembered, but sometimes forgetting was its own kind of freedom. The Lincoln Memorial stood luminous in the spring twilight, its marble columns catching the last rays of sun. Reese watched Haley approach across the reflecting pool, her silhouette graceful against the shimmering water. 3 months had passed since Marina vanished into the Moscow night, 3 months of lawyers and paperwork and learning to breathe again. You're late, he said as she reached him, though his smile took any sting from the words. Emma wouldn't let go. She insisted on showing me every single one of her drawings. Haley's eyes sparkled, including a rather interesting crayon portrait of us getting married. She's quite the artist. She gets that from her mother. The words came easier now. Madison Marina, whoever she'd been, reduced to simple facts without the weight of betrayal. They walked together toward the memorial, joining the evening tourists in their pilgrimage to Lincoln's feet. It was here, Haley had said, that she wanted to talk about their future. The symbolism wasn't lost on Reese, a monument to difficult choices and impossible reconciliations. The divorce papers came through, he said finally. Uncontested. Marina signed everything over the house, the accounts, full custody of Emma. How do you feel about that? Relieved, guilty, free. He paused at the base of the steps. Like I'm finally allowed to move forward. Are you? Haley turned to face him fully. Moving forward, I mean. Because I need to know, Reese, these months getting close to you and Emma. I'm in love with you, both of you. But if you're still, I'm not. He took her hands, feeling their warmth, their realness. I loved Madison, or Marina. or the idea of who I thought she was. But that woman is gone, maybe never existed. What's real is you, Emma, the life we've been building. Even though I was part of her scheme, even though she sent me to destroy you, you were a victim too. We both were. He pulled her closer. But we survived. And somewhere along the way, between diapers and custody hearings and you teaching Emma to tie her shoes, I fell in love with you. The real you. No masks, no lies. Haley's eyes filled with tears. So when you asked me to meet you here, Reese dropped to one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. The ring inside was simple, a single diamond, honest and clear. Nothing like the elaborate setting he'd given Madison, back when he'd thought expensive meant meaningful. Haley Morrison, and yes, we'll have to do something about that name. Will you marry me? Will you be Emma's mother and my wife and help us build something true? Yes. She was laughing and crying simultaneously. Yes, of course, yes. He slipped the ring on her finger as tourists applauded, strangers celebrating a moment of joy they didn't understand. Above them, Lincoln watched with his eternal, weary compassion, a fitting witness to new beginnings born from old endings. Later, at the small restaurant in DuPont Circle where they'd had their first real date, Colin raised a champagne glass. To the future Mr. and Mrs. what? Morrison and Morrison? We're keeping our names, Haley said. Less paperwork. And more confusion. Paige, radiant in her own newlywed glow, squeezed Colin's hand. Though I suppose you're used to that. To confusion, Reese toasted. And to clarity. To families made by choice rather than chance. Speaking of family, Colin said carefully, there's something you should know. The confirmation hearings for my judgeship start next month. They're going to dig into everything our firm, the Madison situation, all of it. We knew this was coming. Yes, but there's been a development. Colin pulled out his phone, showing them a news article. Someone leaked parts of Marina's psychological evaluation, claims she's competent to stand trial if the Russians ever send her back. Reese set down his glass. That's not possible. Foster promised. Foster's gone, retired suddenly last month. The new regime at CIA might have different ideas about old promises. It doesn't matter, Haley said firmly. Marina made her choice. Russia won't extradite her, and even if they did, Reese has full immunity for his testimony. We're protected. Are we? Paige leaned forward. My therapist says trauma has long shadows. Marina might be gone, but what she did, what we all did, those scars don't just disappear. She was right, of course. 2 weeks later, as Colin's confirmation hearings began, those scars were exposed for public consumption. Reese sat in the gallery, watching his best friend defend their past. Mr. Chen, Senator Patricia Williams led the questioning. Your law firm was at the center of one of the largest espionage scandals in U.S. history. How can we trust your judgment for the federal bench? Because, Senator, I've seen firsthand how justice can be perverted by those who claim to serve it. I've watched good people make terrible choices when systems fail them. That experience doesn't disqualify me. It makes me more determined to ensure the law serves truth, not convenience. And your partner, Reese Morrison, a man whose wife was a foreign agent, a man who chose truth over comfort, justice over personal gain. If every judge had Reese Morrison's integrity, we wouldn't need these hearings. The defense was eloquent, but Reese could see the skepticism in the committee's faces. Washington had a long memory for scandal, and the Morrison name was forever linked to espionage and betrayal. That evening, Reese found an envelope slipped under his door. No postmark, no return address. Inside, a single photograph Marina in Moscow, thin but alive, standing beside Alexandra outside what looked like a hospital. On the back, in Marina's handwriting, she asks about butterflies. I tell her they fly free. Be happy. M. Reese stared at the photo, then carefully burned it in the sink. Some messages were meant to be received and released, not held. Who was it from? Haley asked from the doorway, Emma sleepy in her arms. The past. Saying goodbye. He took his daughter, feeling her weight, her reality. How was bedtime? She wants to know if her new mommy will teach her Russian. Haley stroked Emma's hair. I told her Spanish might be more useful. Practical, I like it. He kissed them both. No more Russian in this house, no more secrets. A week later, Colin was confirmed by a narrow margin. His swearing-in was held in the same courthouse where Madison had been tried, justice coming full circle. Reese stood as his witness, aware of the irony, the man whose wife had tried to destroy American justice now vouching for its newest guardian. "Do you solemnly swear," the chief judge intoned, "to administer justice without respect to persons and do equal right to the poor and to the rich?" "I do," Colin said, his voice carrying the weight of everything they'd survived. Afterward, at the reception, Reese found himself on the courthouse steps where Madison had been shot. The bloodstains were long gone, but memory lingered. Haley found him there, Emma running ahead in her yellow dress. "Regrets?" she asked. "No, just acknowledging." He watched Emma chase pigeons, laughing. "This place took something from her, from all of us, but we're still here." "Still here," Haley agreed. "Still standing." "Daddy!" Emma ran back, grabbing his legs. "Judge Collins says I can bang his hammer." "Gavel, sweetheart. It's called a gavel." "Can I, if Judge Collins says so?" As they walked back inside, Reese felt something shift, not forgetting, but forgiving. The past would always be there, shadows and scars and secrets burned to ash. But the future belonged to them now, to the family they were building on foundations of truth. Behind them, the Potomac flowed on, carrying the city's secrets to the sea. And somewhere in Moscow, a woman who'd been too many people finally learned to be just one, while her daughter grew up free of butterflies and lies. It wasn't perfect justice, but it was enough. 5 years. That's what the calendar said, though some mornings Reese could swear it had been a lifetime since Madison's world of shadows collapsed. He stood in the garden of their Bethesda home, watching the sun paint the cherry blossoms pink while Emma practiced violin on the porch. The screech of strings made him wince, but Haley just laughed from the kitchen window. "She's getting better," his wife called out. "Last week it sounded like we were torturing cats. This week it's merely wounded birds." "I heard that," Emma protested, lowering her bow. 7 years old now, she had her mother's sharp features softened by Reese's easy smile. "Mrs. Kim says I have natural talent." "Mrs. Kim is paid to say that," Reese teased, ruffling her dark hair. "But you do sound better, Butterfly." The nickname slipped out sometimes, an echo of Madison's last lucid words. Emma didn't know its significance, just accepted it as fathers gave nicknames and hers happened to have wings. "Dad, can I ask you something?" Emma set down the violin, her expression suddenly serious. "About my first mom?" Reese's chest tightened. They'd always known this day would come. "What do you want to know?" "Olivia at school says her mom was a spy, a bad one who hurt people." Emma's chin lifted, defensive and defiant. "I told her she was lying, but you wondered if it was true." Reese sat beside her on the porch swing. Through the window, he saw Haley pause in her cooking, listening. "Your mother was complicated." "What does that mean?" "It means she did some wrong things for what she thought were right reasons, and some right things for wrong reasons. She was hurt when she was young, and sometimes hurt people hurt other people." "Did she hurt you?" The question hung between them like morning mist. Reese thought of lies and betrayals, of frames and bullets, of love that might have been real buried under so much deception. "Yes," he said finally, "she did. But she also gave me you, and you're the best thing that ever happened to me, so in the end, the good outweighed the bad." Emma digested this with 7-year-old solemnity. "Is she dead?" Another careful truth. "I don't know. She was very sick last time I saw her, and she had to go away, far away. She can't come back." "Because of the bad things?" "Because sometimes going away is how we protect the people we love." Emma leaned against him, small and warm and real. "I'm glad I have Mom now. Haley Mom. She doesn't make me sad like thinking about first Mom does." "Me too, Butterfly. Me too." Later, after Emma had run off to play, Haley joined him on the swing. "You handled that well." "Did I? I feel like I'm walking through a minefield blindfolded." He pulled her close. How do you tell a child her biological mother was an international spy who tried to frame her father for sexual assault? You don't. You tell her age-appropriate truths and let her fill in the details when she's ready. Haley kissed his temple. She'll have questions as she gets older. We'll answer them as they come. Together? Always together. The doorbell interrupted them. Colin stood on their porch, holding a bottle of wine and wearing an expression Reese had learned to read over 30 years of friendship. "What's wrong?" Reese asked, ushering him in. "Nothing's wrong, exactly." Colin handed over the wine, a good vintage, which meant complicated news. "But I got an interesting call from the State Department today, about a death certificate from Moscow." Reese's blood chilled. "Marina?" "Alexandra. Car accident last month. But here's the interesting part, her will leaves everything to Emma. Bank accounts, properties, a trust fund worth about $50 million. $50 million? Haley appeared from the kitchen. From a Russian intelligence officer? Former intelligence officer, apparently. Seems the Volkov twins invested their ill-gotten gains wisely. Cryptocurrency, tech stocks, Swiss accounts. Colin pulled out documents. It's all legal, surprisingly. Clean money from dirty seeds. Reese stared at the papers. Even from beyond the grave, the shadows reached for his daughter. "We can't accept this." "Actually, you can't refuse it. It's in Emma's name, locked in trust until she's 25. You can manage it or let the Swiss bank handle it, but it's hers." Colin paused. "There's a letter, too, from Alexandra." With trembling hands, Reese opened the sealed envelope. Alexandra's handwriting was precise, controlled, so different from Marina's emotional scrawl. "Dear Reese, by the time you read this, I'll have joined the shadows where we Volkovs belong. But Emma doesn't belong there. She's light, not shadow, truth, not lies. This money is stolen from thieves, laundered through legal channels, cleaned by time and distance. Consider it reparations for what we took from you, from her. Marina is alive but not living. She paints, she walks, she breathes, but she doesn't remember. Not you, not Emma, not even me most days. Perhaps that's mercy. The weight of what we were would crush what she's become. Tell Emma her mother loved her, both of them, the one who gave her life and the one who gave her love. That's not a lie, despite everything else that was. The butterflies, remember." Reese set down the letter, emotions warring in his chest. Grief for women he'd never fully known, relief that the past was finally past, fear that its tendrils still reached for Emma. "What do we do?" Haley asked. "We put it away for her," Reese decided. "Let her choose when she's old enough to understand. Blood money or inheritance, it's her decision to make." That evening, they sat for dinner as a family. Colin and Paige had joined them, their own twins babbling in high chairs. Judge Chen had learned to balance justice and bottles, though he claimed the babies were tougher critics than any senator. "A toast," Colin raised his glass. "To the future." "To the truth," Paige added. "To family," Haley contributed. "To butterflies," Emma chimed in, not understanding but wanting to participate. "To butterflies," Reese agreed. "And to the flowers that bloom after winter." 5 years. In that time, he'd written a book, Truth in the Shadows, a memoir of deception and redemption. It had been a bestseller, then a scandal when Marina's real identity leaked, then required reading at Quantico for FBI trainees studying espionage. He'd rebuilt his law practice, specializing in defending those caught in the intelligence world's web. Some called him naive for believing their stories. Others called him the only lawyer who truly understood the price of living a lie. But mostly, he'd been a father and husband. Real roles, not performances. He'd learned to trust again, to love without looking for hidden angles, to accept that some questions would never have answers. "Dad?" Emma tugged his sleeve. "Will you help me with my violin after dinner?" "Of course, Butterfly." "Why do you call me that?" Reese glanced at Haley, who nodded slightly. Time for another small truth. "Because butterflies go through big changes. They start as one thing and become something completely different. Something beautiful." He touched her cheek. "Just like you're growing and changing every day." "Oh." Emma considered this. "Was First Mom a butterfly too?" "Maybe she was. Maybe we all are." "I like that." Emma smiled. gap-toothed and genuine. We're a family of butterflies. After dinner, as promised, Reese helped Emma with her violin. The notes were still more screech than song, but there was melody underneath, waiting to emerge. Like truth from lies, like love from betrayal, like butterflies from cocoons. Outside, the cherry blossoms drifted on the evening breeze, and somewhere in Moscow, a woman painted butterflies she couldn't remember but couldn't forget. The past was past, the future unwritten, and in between, a family built on second chances played music in the gathering dusk. It wasn't the ending anyone had scripted, but it was real and true and theirs. And that was enough.